Dream, 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 dream. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. Alright, yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to Marvelous or the Death of Cinema. On this episode, we're discussing the Sam Raimi directed sequel to a spin-off, the spin-off of a sequel, yada, yada, yada. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'm Discord Stu.
I'm Cole Netscape.
It's me, Nicole Benito.
I kind of wonder if whenever I do like the really loud clap followed by a bunch of aggravated sounds that my neighbor thinks I'm just beating the shit out of Emily.
I feel like beating someone up doesn't sound like a clap.
That's true. I do clap loud as fuck though. I do make it. We clap ass. we sync the tracks by.
You make it clap. You make it clap.
Yeah, we all do the thing that the thoughts do, where they hold both their hands up away from each other, and then they make clapping sounds with their ass cheeks to sync the track.
Yeah, that's actually fun fact. That's actually how we sync our audio. We all just like clap our asses.
Yeah, we all got BBLs with the Patreon money.
Yeah, we did that off. We didn't comment on it, but we did in fact use all of your money. We flew down to fucking Brazil, and we got BBLs together.
We got a group on BBL.
Miguel did too.
That was why we were all gone for those few episodes. You know, You would be gone for one because you were getting a BBL. Then Stu would be gone for one, and then I would be gone for one. We were all getting BBLs.
Yeah.
Whenever I try to lie down, it's like a teeter-totter.
It's like the oh man, what are those toys where it's like you knock them down and they get back up? You know, like the
Weeble Wobbles.
Weeble Wobbles. Yeah, that's kind of what every woman looks like now.
Yeah, every woman kind of looks like the admin at your middle school.
Sure, yeah.
That's real specific, I think, to your middle school.
It's true.
Nicole went to Pog.
There was always like a Pog working for like the principal under like administrative assistant.
Nicole went to Pog High, Pog Elementary School.
That is not a universal experience.
I gotta be honest. My admin was at my high school was a 4'11" tops Asian woman with a laugh like Kamala Harris. And I remember one time I might have told this story before, but I got in trouble for cyberbullying myself. I don't know if I've ever. Do you guys remember that one?
How
do you cyberbully yourself?
Okay, so I was in a programming class, and I was working on a Python script, like just a very basic, like entry level, like I think it was like a clock or something like that. It displays a little clock in a thing, for like an intro to computers, like elective class. And I couldn't get the script working for whatever reason. I think it was actually driver or like library corruption related. In hindsight, thinking back to it, but it wasn't working at all on my machine. So I was like, oh, I'll test it on a different device. And so I sent it to myself using my personal Gmail. Actually, no, I take that back. It was my school Gmail. I guess in the subject line, I put like, fuck you. Oh. And I guess that triggered some, because I was pissed at the script. Like it wasn't working. And, 2 weeks later, or like a week or so later, I try to sign in and it like doesn't let me. And so for like 2 weeks go by and I don't know why I'm just like not able to use my computer sign in at the computer lab whenever I have this elective, so I have to like use the teacher's computer. It was really embarrassing. And then like 2-3 weeks later, I finally get called up to the office. I guess there's just like so much fucking paperwork that they had to sort through on this thing. And the admin's like basically just like a like you know what you did, you know, kind of speech. And I genuinely had no fucking idea. Like I thought I like got in trouble. I was like, what the fuck did I do? Like, did someone tell me for being high? Like, what the fuck happened? Like the one time I smoked weed in high school, like someone saw, oh my God. And eventually she finally, cause she eventually realized like, oh, I don't know what the fuck, like this kid doesn't know what the fuck he did. And so she tells me like, oh yeah, you violated the school's rules on like, fair internet usage or whatever. At the beginning of the year, you have to sign like a permission slip that says like I won't cyberbully anyone using the school computers. Like I'll take all that shit home. And yeah, I guess the district, like the school district that manages the computers, like their like internal IT or whatever, like flagged the message, and then I guess they had just I basically got like mandatory minimum, because they were like, even though you sent it to yourself, no crime was committed, I still had to get 2 weeks of detention, because that's just like the minimum punishment for the violation. Like I admitted to sending the email. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't send the email, but I explained to her the story. And I was like, you realize how stupid this is, right? Like this was one of the things where like, I kind of get why kids like get radicalized so young now, because I was just like trying to explain to this woman, like there's no actual infraction being committed here. Like I sent it to myself. I consented to sending it to myself. Like there's no actual injustice that's happening here. And she just like would not get it. She's like, well, you violated the rules. Like you have to serve like 2 weeks of detention.
It's that very like, I never understood that. 'Cause I mean, that is not a new thing. I think the new thing is that you go on the internet and you find a political valence for those grievances, where that used to be just, I hate school.
Yeah.
But it is just like, you see that all the time, that mentality of like, well, it's like people thinking like computers or machines, or it's like, well, this happens, so we have to do this, and context or hours or whys, or whether or not we're accomplishing anything just like doesn't even occur to them. I never understood it. It's driven me crazy my whole life.
It was insane. Like I was like, what the fuck? Like, not only did I almost fail the class because I had to work off the teacher's computer, like in between him doing like grading the assignments or whatever, but I also just had to like spend 2 weeks in school suspension after school. Like I would like twice a week, I would have to go report to in school suspension for like an hour after school. And I remember like explaining. I remember one time it was my super chill law/film professor. He was like a very, very odd
law/film professor.
Yeah, those were the two electives he taught. Was intro to film, which was basically just you watch whatever VHSs he has, and sometimes they end up being real movies. And then he also taught intro to law, and I took both of those classes because I was really interested. I remember like kind of trying to lawyer myself out of this, where I'm like, can I drop the charges against myself? Like, since I'm the victim here as well as the perpetrator, like, can I drop the charges here? And she didn't think it was funny at all. She was like complete, like she was a little like, you know, typical like Kamala Harris, like, ha ha ha, big laugh kind of thing. Oh my God, dude, I hated her.
No.
Ooh, it was on site with this bitch. Sorry. I was maybe like the most frustrated.
Fuck you if you're listening. You're a fucking bitch.
Exactly. That was probably the most like I'd ever been like, just like, what the fuck is the point of even going to school at this point? Like I'm being punished for literally no reason. And I remember explaining it to my computer science teacher, who was a homie. He was a very, very positive teaching influence in my life, real role model. Shout out Mr. Gray. And he like was in tears laughing. He was like, this would only ever happen to you. Like he was doubled over, like tears and snot running down his face laughing after I explained why I was suspended from and the worst part too is, I guess because I violated that agreement, like she had to intervene on my behalf to even get me access to the computers again, because I guess it's like a one strike and you're out policy. So the district was like, revoke this guy's computer access for the rest of the school year. And I'm like,
and like
cripple my ability to use the fucking computer lab to do the elective that I am now failing because of a minor because I said fuck you to myself. Like, oh my God. Anyways, and then I crashed my car because I was texting and I became Doctor Strange, or whatever the fuck happens to this guy in this movie. But let's talk
I'm going to be honest. This movie opens with Doctor Strange attending his love interest's wedding to another guy because he disappeared for 5 years.
Yeah.
Which again is none of those things you're going to like acknowledge in terms of like minor melodrama and then like forget about 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
But I was like, what's her name? Grace?
Christine.
Christine. I was like,
yeah.
Rachel McAdams.
Who the fuck is Christine? I've forgotten she was in the last movie.
I forgot about it, but also I was like, ooh, this is kind of Raimi. Like when he's like schmoozing everybody and he's like the biggest loser there, but he can also like kill everyone with a wave of his hands. I was like, this is so Raimi. Like when he just pieces out like 5 minutes later, he's like, he finds some excuse to leave the wedding and he's just like handing his martini glass to the guy next to him and jumping out the window. I was like, ooh, there's a little something there.
That was a fun moment, I'll admit. He hands the guy the glass, takes his cape, and jumps off the balcony.
Yeah. I mean, this is
that reminded me of like the MJ running away from the wedding scene a little bit.
Sorry, Nicole?
No, I mean, it's funny that we don't fucking remember Rachel McAdams' name because I can barely remember anything that happened in the first Doctor Strange. Like, that's what I meant. Together, that was like,
oh yeah.
Famously, we watched it together, and then we paused the movie about halfway through to watch a Chemical Brothers music video. That was how riveting Doctor Strange 1 was.
It's a cool video.
Like, I literally cannot remember what happened in that movie.
Imagine if the first one was also directed by Raimi, though.
All of this is to say this is an improvement. It's still not good. It's incredibly, like, mixed mid, but it's an improvement. I'll give it that.
It's a massive improvement.
And to the listeners who are very concerned about my well-being watching another Marvel movie, I will say I was not miserable watching this.
I was also not miserable.
It's the best MCU movie we've had in years at this point.
Yeah.
Which is not saying a lot.
Which is like saying you're the least fascist Israeli.
Yeah.
The bar's low. The bar's very low right now.
It's very low, but it's kind of astonishing how easily it clears the bar. Like it's kind of sleepwalking through being an MCU movie. Like you can pinpoint the exact moments when Raimi stopped giving a fuck. He's like, okay, Patrick Stewart, and it's literally whenever Patrick Stewart is on screen. Whenever Patrick Stewart's on screen, except for the moment where he's being murdered by fucking Elizabeth Olsen, you can just give up.
Yeah, no, it's just like, at what point is it just straight up elder abuse?
I mean, we did...
Like, I know the guy loves money.
Yeah, we did get the goodbye cracker gif out of that. The white spotted.
It's
a
very powerful gif in your arsenal.
Oh, dude, it's so good. This is maybe the most gifable MCU movie, just because it's got a lot of really strong editing. But it's like, if you're I guess a zoomer who has not watched a Raimi movie before, it's going to come across as very dated. It's going to look like an MTV music video that your dad has tried to show you from the distant land of 1997. But I loved it. Like, I think of I remember the first thing I saw about this movie when I kind of thought like, oh, this might have a little juice, was when people were complaining about the transition where Scarlet Witch like walks towards the camera and then it cross dissolves into Wong, and they're like, this looks like fucking like a shitty cheap porno or whatever.
Wrong.
And I'm like, no, this is beast mode.
Wait, haven't all of these people seen the original Star Wars, though?
No,
like, do they not like dissolves or wipes?
No, none of them know what the fuck a dissolve is, dude. They think it's like...
No,
they think
that's ancient lost art.
Editing is something you do on CapCut, bro. Like, this is not... They don't know what that is. They think that bad editing is when there's any cuts whatsoever in a movie, and that the best movie ever made is a movie that could theoretically have no visible cuts.
We need... We need people to be able to pass like a simple test before they're allowed to see a movie.
like a poll tax, like a
yeah. But like before you're allowed to like go into a theater or open a streaming app, you have to like prove you can like understand that basic elements of the language of film. Like, for example, film is not actually. I see this with like serious critics a lot too. It's not just about a given image, but the juxtaposition of images, even the dissonant juxtaposition of images created by a cut. That is part of film. That's not something to be avoided.
Wait, Stu, maybe even 24 images per second. And then you also put a dialogue, an audio track underneath. Now we're cooking with gas here. We could call them the talkies.
I was actually reading about the other day how when films, like every new technological change, there's always like a bunch of haters. Like when movies started talking, obviously, there's a bunch of people who are like, oh, they ruined movies with sound and dialogue.
That's crazy.
But then there was also like a bunch of guys who hated widescreen, like when widescreen, like CinemaScope stuff came in the 50s.
I could kind of get that. I've watched some, like, have you ever watched like those bad CinemaScope gimmick movies like from the 50s?
No, actually, admittedly, no.
Oh, dude, there's some like, admittedly they'll have cool visuals, but it'll just be like they don't know fully how to shoot a shot. Like all the best shots are just things that would also look good in 4:3.
Yeah, they haven't adapted to. Well, that's the thing. They haven't adapted to the new tool.
Exactly. No, it was all like like those like late 1950s. A lot of them were like travel pictures. I've seen a lot of like shitty or like mediocre. I think it's House of Bamboo. I think was one that I watched where I was like, this is like conceptually kind of neat. It's like a post-war Japanese noir about like a guy like a down on his luck PI. But they just didn't fully know how to fill the frame there. But let's back up a little bit. Is this all our first watch of a Marvel movie? Is this the first time that all three of us?
Is this all our first watch of a Marvel movie?
Well, no, but I mean, like,
do you mean Multiverse of Madness? Yes.
Yeah.
I've been on uncharted territory with these for a good while now.
Yeah,
I think that Spider-Man was my first uncharted territory, and this is the one where I like hadn't even really seen like clips of the movie or like looked up a plot synopsis. Like I went in more or less completely blind as you can get with like a couple years removed. This was actually the second movie that I worked at the movie theater. I remember we had the poster up for a while just in the lobby because it was like we'd have like a lobby of like the past movies that we'd shown, and we just put like the shitty movies by the bathrooms, you know, the shitty movie posters.
How was the crowd on that?
Oh, it was pretty good. It was. Okay. I don't really remember a Marvel movie getting a bad crowd except for Thor 4. But granted, we got that movie like a month late because it was like that month where like Top Gun came out and fucking like Jurassic World came out, and then Thor came out, and like John Wick 4 I think was also out.
Big month for fours.
So it was one of those things where it was like to even keep a movie like in theaters for 2 weeks meant missing or severely delaying like a pretty big blockbuster. So we ended up getting Thor 4 pretty late, and that one did kind of shit. But the first one that we got that had a shitty crowd at a premiere was The Marvels.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So let's jump back. So the movie opens with
a Rick and Morty cold open?
A weird, a slightly weird looking ponytail Doctor Strange and a character we've never seen before jumping around CG pillars in a space, being chased by a thingy.
Yeah.
And then it's a parallel universe Doctor Strange, and he's with this girl with a star on her jacket who we will learn is named America Chavez, which leads to a lot of very stupid sounding dialogue where people talk about America's power that I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be a metaphor or not.
That's not.
And they're jumping on pillars to get a book, and then the thingy catches up to him, a demon thingy, and Doctor Strange tries to kill this America girl. Then she gets launched through to our dimension, and an eyeball octopus, like the creature that destroys your cities in SimCity 2000, starts chasing her around. That's why Doctor Strange leaves his wedding.
Wait, no way you didn't recognize that guy. Wait, you've played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, right?
Of course not.
For real?
I'm not a fighting games guy.
Oh, dude. Oh, okay. That was they couldn't call him that in the movie because the name is trademarked to the Robert E. Howard estate. But that was popular Marvel glupshido, especially big in Japan, Shuma Gorath.
Yeah, that
who
would be big in Japan.
Appears in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and has like a weirdly popular fan base in Japan, despite never actually really appearing in that many Doctor Strange comics. It's mostly just because he was a character that they threw in to basically be roster padding in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and has since become like one of those cult classic kind of characters. So they put him in here as a little shout out, but they couldn't call him Shumagorath because they don't have the film rights to Conan, although they did actually, funny enough, have the comic rights to Conan at the time. And his name is, in this, is Gargantuos. Or Gargantos, or however the fuck
so
you say it.
he's an eyeball octopus.
He's an eyeball octopus. Yeah, he's a little
and
tentacle demon.
that's so the whole thing with America Chavez, even though like
Also, no relation, in case you're wondering.
no, is she can make portals through dimensions. And she's the MacGuffin to the MacGuffin of the movie. She's the MacGuffin to the X-Men. The movie's full of plot contrivances.
Kind of feels weirdly tacked on in a way, and I feel like that was kind of intentional because she's this was the era where one of their irons in the fire was the Young Avengers, and she's kind of like a founding Young Avengers character from the comics. At least from the second more popular incarnation.
Yes, I was going to say, she has the feeling of like a character they made up within the last 10 years.
She is from, I think, like 2013. Funny enough, I actually wasn't able to find a clear answer on why they named her America Chavez, other than it was 2014. Like, when they made her, like, it was like the second Obama administration. I actually kind of like her. She's a character that's really kind of only works in the comics, where she's a panel gag character where you can, because she can punch these star-shaped holes in reality, you can have her ostensibly break the sequential flow of the art and like pop up in a different panel.
Yeah, because in the movie it's just kind of
It's
like
just
another
portal shit.
glowy shit thing.
And in the comics, it's similar. It's these star-shaped holes in reality, but it's really not something I think you could do that well in live action or even really animation. I think it really is something that kind of requires you to be able to break the flow of time like you can in a comic.
Yeah, you can go back and forth.
Exactly.
So, what do we think of this first action scene where we get our two Benedicts and a bunch of glowy shit?
I kind of liked it. I'm sorry.
A Marvel superhero saving people.
I kind of liked it. I'm gonna say, like, I liked the introduction to it, where he swoops down in the wedding. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
My grievance with this stuff is always just the Marvel sheen. You know, nothing ever quite feels tactile or weighty enough, and I think that's just because the way these things are produced leads to a lack of cohesion with the VFX teams.
Yeah, I will say when he skewers him with the eyeball, that's the thing, honestly, that you immediately notice with Raimi, is that because Raimi is a huge Doctor Strange fan, in fact, this is literally his favorite of all time comic book characters, hands down, to the point where he's name dropped in the Raimi Spider-Man films.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Raimi is immediately using the Doctor Strange power set like 100 million times more creatively than we've seen him in any of these other movies. It comes across more later, but you do just immediately notice, like, he's not doing the portal shit all the time. He's not just making glowy rings. They're still there. Obviously, you can't fully disentangle yourself from the MCU aesthetic, but like just the creativity in this fight was immediately more apparent, and it's not a lot more creative than an MCU fight, but it's noticeable that you're like, oh, this guy's like thinking like a wizard would. Like, he's not just doing like, you know, I'm shooting glowing shit at you like every other MCU character. He's like doing spells and interacting with the environment in a fun and engaging way. And it still kind of does look mid, but in a way that
it's like 10% better.
It's like 10% better. Exactly.
It's like, my big take on this movie is this is Sam Raimi operating under layers and layers of Kevin Feige's brand management and all the requirements of an MCU movie to be a commercial for other things. And yet, even late period Sam Raimi, kind of up in the air whether it's a complete example of like a washed director, or, you know, like the way we talk about late period Dario Argento stuff, late period John Carpenter, as opposed to other directors whose late period stuff is like the average person doesn't really get with it, but, you know, the smart cinephile is like, no, they're cooking with gas here. I don't know. Sam Raimi has a new movie coming out in the next couple years called Sent Help, I believe. Even though this is more the Sam Raimi, to my understanding, who did Oz, the Great and the Powerful, it's still Sam Raimi. And there is still some juice there. And the stuff that is like Raimi is enough to get throing.
Oh yeah, I would say
even with all the bullshit.
Every about 15 minutes, there's what I call a little golf clap scene. Sorry, I can't talk. Where every 15 or so minutes, there's a little tiny Raimiism that manages to make the previous 15 minutes of MCU bullshit seem not necessarily palatable, but you can kind of push your way through it. It's dragging you through broken glass, but you're like, then every 15 or so feet you get a hand job, you know?
I kind of, for me, see, here's the thing, like, I'm like, obviously go way back with his movies. They're very formative for me, like Evil Dead and stuff. And for me, I kind of felt like it was shtick, and I feel like that's what he was hired to do. They're like, because the way, like, if we go back to like it's Captain America Civil War or whatever, a lot of these, especially the standalone movies, pitch themselves as like, oh, it's the MCU doing X or Y genre or style, and it's what I call like homeopathic dosing. Do you know how homeopathy works?
No, not at all.
Can you explain to the listeners?
Okay, so the idea of homeopathic medicine, which is a stupid scam thing for idiots, is that medicinal elements are somehow supposed to be more powerful the more they're diluted. So whenever you get like a homeopathic remedy, it's got like a minuscule dose of whatever thing's supposed to make it work. Mm-hmm. It's like one of those, like chiropractic, just one of those crank ideas from like the 1820s that never quite died out. And that's what these MCU movies feel like, where it's like, okay, this is like, oh, we're going to hire Sam Raimi. He's going to do a couple trademark things and give us that homeopathic dose of style and genre that will give us some legitimacy. Because they've been like, since Eternals, self-consciously trying to court, like, I guess people sort of like us and say like, oh no, these are real movies with real style and substance. And look, we built like a set and we did like a location shot. It's like these little gestures that are supposed to win us over, while kind of missing the forest or the trees.
Point, yeah.
And I feel like, you know, Raimi, they brought him at the last minute, and I never could get a clear explanation why the Derek's and the guy from the first one was canned. Yeah. But they brought him at the last minute. Dude. He does not give a shit. I mean, he does suck. But they brought him at the last minute. He doesn't give a shit about the MCU. Fair enough. And he's just, I think, getting a paycheck and maybe getting like his own, you know, a one for me, one for you thing out of it. And he's just like showing up and just giving us these like, okay, there's your Bruce Campbell cameo. There's the Oldsmobile. You know, it's just like all these little trademark things, which are like, fine. They made me like the movie a little more, but it also felt like it's not like Raimi struggling against the MCU, but showing up and providing that homeopathic dose that he was hired to do to try and give this whole project a little more legitimacy with the movie heads.
I agree, but I think in execution, the Raimiism, specifically like his blend of giallo and campy horror and love for just 70s pulp horror,
Three Stooges in general, and slapstick,
and Three Stooges and
kind
slapstick,
of the big element of it.
And Ditko Comics ends up just like subconsciously influencing the film and making it. It's like he couldn't fuck it up if he tried. Like he couldn't make the movie any better, but he couldn't make it any worse. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it is.
Yeah,
the
it's not
results like
bland.
10% better than the average. Well, it's a little bland. This is not as bland.
It's not Scott Derrickson bland, baby.
I think there was like a small there's like two small voices in the back of his head, and one's like, phone it in, just get it done, get a paycheck, whoever gives a fuck, you donate it all to Trump when you're done. And then the other voice was like, God, I fucking love Doctor Strange so much. Oh my God, I'm like dying to do a Doctor Strange movie. Like he was like trying. It would be like if you got like me or like Walt Casebook to do like the like James Gunn Batman movie or something, where it's like, okay, I have to do a bunch of cinematic universe bullshit, but like I am like compelled by the world spirit to just put in like the fucking candlelit vigil or something. Like just I have to. There's a demon in my brain that will not let me live if I fuck up my one opportunity to do Doctor Strange and I don't put just a little bit of fun Doctor Strangeisms in it.
Yeah.
And you see that I think a lot more towards the end, which I actually kind of ended up really liking in a way. Like I will get to it.
Yeah, it's the end that finally I was just like, oh, okay, that was the part that I actually like really it's because of the skeletons.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I love a skeleton.
I do like a skeleton. So there's a part in the beginning where they bury the corpse of the other universe Doctor Strange that came through. That was like 5% more evil. And as soon as they buried him under these like cobblestones, I was just like, okay, third act, he's gonna pop out as a zombie out from under those cobblestones.
Well,
here's the funny thing.
Well, hold on before you go,
Okay.
Nicole. The other thing is that they introduce a type of magic called dreamwalking that allows you to enter into the host body of someone.
That comes a bit later.
It comes a bit later, but they introduce this thing called dreamwalking where you can enter the corpse or the body of someone,
a parallel version of
yourself. And it's basically like they got the guy from Chekhov. They got Chekhov from Star Trek to show up holding a gun in the movie because it's like it's so obvious.
I called it before the dreamwalking thing, though.
Exactly.
I just knew
it's so obvious, especially when you get the reveal of like the dreamwalking thing. But even before, it's like, okay, there's going to be some reason for this corpse because they make a big show out of.
There's too much.
It.
Yeah. So on that note, actually, I want to talk about something that is not really fair to the movie. Not really need to be fair to the movie, but just always bothered me about this stuff is what makes a parallel universe version of you different from somebody who's just like another guy. Like, okay, if your parents meet in a parallel universe and they have a kid, but they have that kid like a day later, is that still a parallel universe version of you? Do they have to have the same name?
I guess it kind of depends on where the point of diversion is. That's the thing with the Marvel. The Marvel comics are a little bit more clearly defined, where every time you alter anything with time, both versions of that alteration end up becoming their own separate parallel universe. So if you go back and kill Hitler, there's a version.
Oh, no, that
makes sense. But
clear to me that
the movie it's a little bit too nebulous because they don't want to define the rules of how the multiverse works because you're going to need to break them at some point if you define them.
Yeah, well, it's just I just always so it's like you go to like a parallel universe where it's like history was radically different, but still like the same two people came to existence and met and had the kid with the same name who looks the same, but is a different person enough to be like more evil. I just that's never made sense to me. I've never like been able to get my head around how that's supposed to work.
I have kind of an answer.
Like in theory, any parallel version of you has to come from a universe that was exactly the same up until after you were born, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Otherwise they're a different person because they would exist in like a totally different context, different DNA, different parents, or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those contrivances that I think a lot of this type of genre just kind of hand waves away as like, the story.
It's a CinemaSins nitpick. It's just something I can't not think about. But it doesn't really reflect on the movie all that much. But I do think what reflects on the movie is the fact that it's called Multiverse of Madness, but like aside from like a brief montage of wacky shit. We just go to one other universe where it's like, it just looks like that shitty, like, the future if image
Yeah.
where everything's just kind of glassy and has plants.
Oh, it's the abundance mindset future.
yeah.
It does look like that.
And it's like the stoplights are reversed colors,
Yeah.
and it looks like that, and that's like the big difference.
Yeah, during that montage, they have a like brief 2-second stint in the that Drake Pepsi or Sprite. No, the Sprite commercial.
Oh
where his
yeah,
face-
that's when the Living Tribunal shows
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
But what I was going
This
to
is like- this
say
movie should-
earlier.
Should really be called Doctor Strange and the regular Doctor Strange story, except that Patrick Stewart is there for some reason. You know?
Yeah, when you promise me a multiverse of madness, I want something that's crazier than the time traveling Treehouse of Horror episode,
Yeah, but
which has crazier multiverses in its
yeah. But
10-minute
let's
runtime.
let Nicole.
Yeah.
Because you brought up dead Doctor Strange
Dr. Dead.
being introduced in the very first act, and you immediately recognizing that as a third act setup. Well, that wasn't how it was originally written by our screenwriter Michael Waldron, who, to nobody's surprise, is another Dan Harmon alumni, Emmy Award-winning writer for Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Not to say, this is Rick and Morty has done a lot of damage.
I have mutuals that have worked on Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty is, or I shouldn't even blame Rick and Morty, because this is like, we've had this conversation over and over again. It just, the extent to which Kevin Feige has just poached talent from Dan Harmon's writer's room, and how like all the problems with how these movies operate and are written come down to like the harmonisms of it. But Waldron, when he was writing the screenplay for it, like wrote that part, and then he was like, well, what am I going to do for the third act? And then suddenly remembered, oh, I literally planted a third Doctor, like a dead Doctor Strange at the beginning of the first act. So that was not even written as like setup. He like went back and realized, oh, I left like a puzzle piece on the floor here.
That's fine, honestly.
It's
don't
fine,
wanna,
but I just wanted to point out he did not like.
I mean, he
did not realize he was setting up.
that's just kind of how writing works.
Yeah.
Well, he was not setting it up deliberately either. Like that was something
No,
he had
but you
to like.
you discover
Yeah.
when you're writing, you discover opportunities in your own writing
Absolutely.
as you go. You don't.
Yeah, the
Always
tears
know what
and
you're
rain
doing.
speech. That was like a last minute, like, oh fuck, we can like the original
Yeah.
ending for Blade Runner was going to take place in like a boxing gym. It was the worst thing ever. It was fucking horrible. And then they're like Rutger Hauer's like, what if we just do Tears and Rain? And then he's like, I was like, oh fuck yeah, we just.
Well,
do that.
that's okay. That's something I want to talk about. Is these movies suffer from constant meddling and tweaking up to like the moment they come out.
Yeah.
But lots of good movies have come out that had like a bunch of script revisions and improvisations and stuff,
Yeah.
like lots of movies we love. So it's like it is part of the problem, but it's not the whole problem, because I think it's just the writers they have and the raw material they start with. And again, like a kind of lack of respect for, like I said before, storytelling.
Yeah.
Like there, you've got structure, and they think if you've got the structure and you've got the moments, then the specifics of how you get there, what happens, don't really matter. Like,
Yeah.
it's all
I don't wanna,
forest, no tree.
I don't want to blame Rick and Morty.
No, I'm not. I'm not. That's why I said like not to blame Rick and Morty, but also,
Yeah.
I mean, like post season 2 Rick and Morty, like when it got really annoying. But
Sure,
that's
but
more the problem of like the multiverse itself becoming such a overused and tired concept, and the fact that a lot of the issues we take with how the MCU will constantly undercut itself with jokes or just be really inane riffing that is all like downstream from like Dan Harmon writer's room kind of stuff. Like they're approaching this as
I
like
guess.
comedy writing
I think-
and not like writing we're miles away from the kind of screenplay that Raimi was directing for Spider-Man 1 and 2. Like these are not like these movies are no longer being written by like old guard Hollywood screenwriters. They are being written by like television guys. And that's what Michael Waldron
I think
is.
blaming hold on. I think blaming like just pointing and saying it's Rick and Morty writers or it's Harmon is a little, because there's always going to be a thing, you know. That's the thing. It's like Taika Waititi wasn't a Rick and Morty writer, and he's written some of the worst MCU
he has the same
project.
sensibilities, or at least
He
the
does,
same like
he does,
worst,
but like there's
worst qualities that they tend to have. And again, we have a friend of the show who has written for Rick and Morty. Love her. She's amazing. But like
she is. I don't want to just defend Rick and Morty. I think it's like a symptom of a larger issue where it's
that's I should have specified that.
Can I try and define the terms here a bit?
Sure, please. I've done a horrible job so far.
No, you're fine. I want to like tie it into the thesis of the show here a little bit, where it's like, I think there's always going to be another thing, because that's the thing. Feige's always looking for the next thing. So like Phase 1 MCU, it was like the sitcom, right? It was the other sitcom writers. It was like the Community guys and the what did the Russos do?
Community.
Well, they did the other one, the Banana Stand one.
Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Arrested Development. Yeah. And then or yeah, so it was like the sitcom. So he's always just I think looking. I think it's honestly a symptom of him, of his own personal tastes, where he thinks that kind of shit is funny. So he's always looking for the next guy who's doing the kind of humor that he likes to poach. So whether it comes from like James Gunn trying to like do like, you know, PG-13 versions of his Trauma movies, you know, for a wider audience, he's like, oh, I'm going to pull him, or like Taika Waititi, who has a similar sense of style, where it's like he's like the tastemaker for the MCU, and his taste just like sucks shit. Like, is the worst ever.
That's what I was trying to get at, because I read a Vanity Fair article on the screenwriter Michael Waldron, written by friend of the show Joanna Robinson, who I guess is on a redemption arc right now.
Oh, dude, I love her now.
I guess
she's so
she's
cool.
friend of the show now.
She's friend of the show now because she had that tweet that was like
about Andor, Andor radicalized.
Andor radicalized me, and I saw that and I was like, this dumb bitch. Like, what the fuck does she know about being radicalized? And then I watched Andor and I was like doing like the Danny DeVito, like, oh, I get it now. Like, this is a Star Wars show that makes you want to shoot a fucking like, this is crazy.
But my big takeaway from that profile is just that Waldron is literally Kevin Feige Jr. or has the exact same tastes as him. So
who I think is now on the outs, I believe.
Is he?
I think so. I think he got canned because didn't he do Quantumania as well?
Let me check.
No,
I don't think so. I think
Jeff,
he's writing one of the Avengers
Jeff
movie, or at least he was working on it.
Lovents or whatever. Because I think it was the other guy. Yeah, no, he did Loki, which I think went over a little bit better. But then
he was the showrunner for Loki.
He is writing Avengers Doomsday. No, there was another guy, Jeff. I keep wanting to say Jeff Rosenstock, but that's a shoegaze
Jeff
guy.
Stein.
Jeff Snyder.
He took his shirt off.
It was the guy who wrote Quantumania, and I guess like he's like another Rick and Morty guy.
Yeah.
And apparently like Feige basically just personally Jeff Loveness. And he was like a Jimmy Kimmel staff writer, and then wrote Rick and Morty, and then broke into film with doing Ant-Man Quantumania, and then I guess he also did some punch-up work on the Spider-Verse movie.
But like Waldron basically has the exact same taste palette. He's like an 80s movie guy. He loves comedy. God. Apparently Kevin Feige also really loves Nora Ephron romantic comedies. Waldron also likes those. Like Back to the Future is his favorite movie. Like I don't know. I don't know the guy, but it just struck me as like your high school friend who's just getting into movies and hasn't moved past that taste palette.
It's very like who's the guy who did Pretty in Pink?
John Hughes.
John Hughes. Yeah.
That's like I feel like you could draw a line from like John Hughes to like John Hughes, and then the Back to the Future guy to like The Office.
Yeah.
To like the Russos to like now. Like it's like that specific vein of humor. There's like it's almost like I feel like I'm like the guy who's like putting like a pinboard together, and like at the center is like the JFK assassination, where it's like I feel like honestly if you looked at like the history of these influences, like you're going to find Patient Zero if you go back far enough, and I feel like it's going to be around that like 80s movie like
I think it's a couple things. Part of it I think is just the hegemony of like middle class Gen X people, like mostly guys, but not exclusively,
especially in comics. Oh my god,
yeah, but Waldron's like closer to our age. He's like a guy in his 30s, so it's just the never.
Oh, is he? I thought he was. I assumed he was like maybe more in his 40s, but
no, it's the never-ending 80s nostalgia.
Yeah, he's 30.
Yeah.
He didn't start screenwriting until 2014.
But I think there's also like a certain sensibility about like what's funny and what's kind of like there was a time when like an improvisational approach to comedy was sort of refreshing and different because it felt sort of naturalistic and like, slightly awkward the way real life stuff is. And it fit
like Community.
Yeah. And Community is also like super, that's the other side of it is like that kind of it sort of bubbles up in the 90s and then kind of keeps going where you have the kind of deconstructive, self-aware thing, which again, there was time when that was novel and it was like when everything took itself super self-seriously, it was funny to have something come along and kind of flip that on its head.
Yeah, that's why you had like those big like kind of Gen X anthems like Beck's Loser, you know.
Yeah. But that register has become so dominant for so long that there's nothing to subvert. There's nothing to be aware of. It's just kind of cannibalizing itself now. And that tone and sensibility only works in certain contexts. And when it dominates everything, instead of being kind of on the fringes, being the counterpoint to it, it becomes really tedious because, it's like, sure, I would like to be, it's fun to poke fun at things that are trying to be self-serious, but also sometimes I would like to just be thrilled and awed too. And nothing's thrilling or awesome when it's always in that mode.
It is really funny that there's only like one.
You gotta watch the new Adam Curtis.
It is really funny that there's like one guy ever who tried to do like a big budget superhero movie in the modern day that was like that kind of shock and awe thing, and now he's the president of India.
Well, that's the thing too. We've talked about on those episodes is the two prongs of that are one like the just limp riff comedy, everything's sort of flippant until you have like your one big emotional moment that's supposed to be like, oh, I thought this was funny, but it's serious. And then there's the other side of the coin, which is that like, like Tom King's comics, right? That the other thing where it's like you're so insecure about the stuff being silly that you're like, no, it's got to be super serious and we have to it's like the self-deconstructing in a super serious way. Nobody can just straightforwardly tell a good story. Everything has to be everybody has to prove how clever they are with what they're doing, whether they're doing it in a snarky tone or a serious tone.
You see that interview that Gunn did where he's like, well, no one would buy that Clark Kent hides himself with glasses. And it's like, Jesus Christ, it's been 20 fucking years of this shit. I remember 30. Like being a kid.
Why not?
And like seeing like it's people ahead of Man of Steel being like, well, no one would ever buy that Clark Kent would wear glasses. And it's like, I don't give a shit. First of all, every white person looks the same. Like, does not. It's like, dude, there's a white guy with glasses. No one's going to look at Clark Kent. No one's looking at Clark Kent and be like, maybe this guy's Superman. Like, no one.
That's true.
You don't have to. You don't ever have to.
Face blindness when you met me.
I got face blindness when you met.
I kind of get it. I have a bit too. It's what it is.
Pissing me off, dude.
It's the things that were like funny to say in like Clerks or Mallrats as like jokes about things. Everybody like took them seriously and were like, oh no, we need to address those things. We need to prove we're again, everything was just like you have to prove you're smarter than the material.
Yeah.
I like Andor, but there's a part of that show which I'm pretty sure was inspired by the clerks, like
The contractors on the Death Star.
Yeah. And granted, it's a really fucking good arc, but I'm like 80% sure they were watching Clerks and they thought like, well, damn, who did build the Death Star? And then like someone just walked in and was like, fascism, like they just whiteboard fascism.
Well, that's the thing. Like that material, it can be good raw material to be like, what's an interesting story I can tell? Is to be like explore some of those ideas. But that's the thing. It's a jumping off point for an interesting story as long as you're not caught up in the I need to prove I can provide some built-in critique to the material. But I think it's just this like trend from the 90s that ate the it's like a symbiote becoming a parasite. The thing it lives off of, it devoured, and now it's just eating itself, and it's just sucked the life out of all this stuff because now there's no room to just like have a Doctor Strange story or a Batman story.
You could also honestly kind of point to it being like a symptom of like the larger age, like as like life expectancy went up in, you see it with like politicians too, where it's like every politician's like 90 years old and about to die, and they've been a politician since like the 1910s, and it's just because they've been alive and modern medicine has made it so that they can keep functioning. Where you have like the same people who were doing these like kind of ironic takedowns in the 90s when it was funny, and like the Simpsons shit, are just still getting to write blockbuster movies today because they just haven't died yet. Like there's no it's the same issue in comics where you have like every single comic book writer is like 75 years old now. Like fucking Grant Morrison's like coming out of retirement to do like a Deadpool comic, and it's like what the fuck, man? Like Grant Morrison's 65 years. Grant Morrison's almost as old as my dad.
Yeah.
Like who is considering retirement now. Like this is unreal. Yeah.
It's also, I think, too, like even if you're not like old, there's this sense of like the only way to do something new or be clever or original is through that. Like it's, it is. It's like when like you can't sell a city on like a light rail system, but you can sell them on like the fucking Hyperloop, which is like a way dumber version of the same thing because it looks new and clever.
It looks new and clever, exactly.
And like this stuff all kind of suffers from that, where it's like, well, we can't just straightforwardly do a good Doctor Strange movie because that's not a new and clever twist. But I want to take a pee, and then we should probably talk about
the actual movie,
Scarlet Witch.
Oh yeah, the Scarlet Witch. Yeah. You think he's gonna piss loud as fuck?
I'm not trying to listen.
So the big idea in this movie is that the villain is Wanda, Scarlet Witch, who is, it turns out, like the prophesied Antichrist who's supposed to end the universe.
Something
and
like
two,
women can't do anything without people criticizing them, can they?
It's very funny because as someone that just watched WandaVision, it feels like this is still a jump for her character.
She's the one who's been chasing America Chavez through the multiverse with minions because she wants to use her power not to end the universe, but to go to a universe where her fake kids from WandaVision are real.
Yeah. And granted, they do actually get some pretty interesting kind of very tame, but intellectually interesting for the MCU body horror. Later with like the possession and her, she puts that body through the ringer. Like I feel bad for that.
She starts walking over glass,
over broken glass.
She's looking a little bit like a Deadite.
She's like she's like blowing shit up. But it's a little bit funny that they even did WandaVision because it feels like this was still a jump for her character no matter what. Where we go from at the end of WandaVision, she's like. And it kind of defeats the whole shared universe concept where, at the end, she's like, there's still a slimmer of goodness with her. She's like, she's been forgiven by the town and she's like, I'm sorry, I'll never use my magic improperly again. And I need to like learn how to control this shit. And I've like resisted the evil. And then by this movie, and there's no appearance in between this, mind you, she has now not only mastered the Darkhold, of which we saw like 10 seconds of in WandaVision, but she's also now gotten to the point where she's completely okay with sacrificing a real life girl to gain the power over the whatever the fuck that she needs the power for. I can't remember, but
just to go to another dimension and where her fake kids are real.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I was too busy being distracted by her chewing the ever loving Christ out of the cedar. Like, where was this Elizabeth Olsen in the other movies? Like, it really, honestly, to me, showcases the futility of this whole thing, where this is what, her like 7th appearance. I straight up, at this point, I fucking despise her character. And this is the most compelling and interesting that she's ever been. It might as well be a debut.
She's very good despite being given horrible material and a really dumb motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of blown away.
The jump there is, because, and I said this when we were talking about the end of WandaVision, they like relegate it to a end credit scene where we think, oh, she's finally found peace. She's living on this farm away from people. She feels so terrible.
Was that in WandaVision?
Yeah. Yeah, at the very end. And then it's revealing she's just studying the Darkhold.
Oh, okay. Maybe I missed that.
As, you know, relegating, like, a character development to, like, a 5-second moment in an end credit scene.
Yeah, that I don't remember watching.
However, I did come away from this. I know I said during, like, WandaVision, for all my hangups there, like, it did provide me with some more insight into why she has amassed such a dedicated, and then let me just say straight up scary stan base.
Well, actually, I'm gonna interject here. They hate this movie,
which is weird.
The stands,
which is kind of weird to me, because this is the thing that I'm like, I actually kind of want to defend her here.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm right there with you. I'm there. We got our picket lines. We're like, yes, Cunty Wanda. But the MC they despise. They actually there were like fan petitions and just full crash outs by the scariest women that you've ever seen. They hate this movie because of the heel turn of Wanda. They think that
it's a bad setup for a heel turn.
It is a bad setup for a heel turn.
Having that relegated to literally 5 seconds in an end credit scene, that is like, I don't care what Waldron said about how he and Jack Schaefer communicated in setting this up. He did a bad job.
He did.
However, I'm sorry. As I'm rereading Barbara Creed's Monstrous Feminine right now, which is for those of you, I'm just going to give like a brief synopsis on what that is, because it is like one of my favorite theories where it concerns like feminist readings of horror, especially. So basically, it's the idea, to quote Barbara Creed directly, that all human societies have a conception of the monstrous feminine, of what it is about women that is shocking, terrifying, horrific, and abject. An abjection, I believe I've talked a little bit about it before on an episode. I don't remember where. But that is a theory by the psychoanalyst Julia Kristeva. And abjection is about what's basically like violates borders and disrupts the assumption that our bodies are like impenetrable closed systems. So things like death, decay, corpses, blood, piss, shit, gaping orifices. And that's where sort of the association of like women as like abjection themselves comes from, because like we, you know, not to be cis or hetero essentials there, but like we have a gaping hole, basically.
Actually,
we are considered abject beings, but it's also like
you ever look at a pussy so long you start getting scared?
Yeah, I mean that's objection. That's the monstrous feminine. So,
exactly. No, I
the
get
monstrous feminine. Also, it also has to do with and this is where it relates to Wanda, who's being motivated as this like terrifying, monstrous mother trying to get her kids from a completely other dimension at the cost of like the entire universe. So the archaic fear of the all-consuming mother, of being reabsorbed back into her mother, and being unable to separate ourselves from her, because that's like the foundational way of establishing our own individuality. We first need to separate ourselves from the mother. If you're familiar at all with Freudian or psychoanalytic theory at all, this is just basic 101 principles. So at Barbara Creed, just a little more insight, she kind of revised Freud's theory of castration anxiety, and hence the whole Oedipal complex, that it's not actually the father that enacts that fear, it's the mother who threatens and enacts a castration anxiety that she is in fact castrating. It's like the fear of female genitalia is like vagina dentata. There we go again, like a scary orifice that might kill us. But later, like Barbara Creed, I actually haven't gotten to this section of the book yet. She re-released the book a couple years ago with like a new chapter section, just looking at several recent female directed or written horror movies, looking at her theory in like a reclaimed feminist way. But a lot of people latch on to the monstrous feminine, myself very much included. A lot of my favorite films are explicitly about it, like femininity and just inhabiting a body as a woman, whether you're cis or trans, is kind of being in a state of abjection. And that is something I really fuck with. And I saw it in Wanda, just like her literally shuffling across fucking glass. There's that moment where she crawls out of the mirror and has to like, granted it's CGI,
dude, that was
it would have been a lot
good.
cooler if it was like 1987
when she's
and we're operating on like Evil Dead 2, like cracking her like bones back into place. Like, you know, I'm not gonna shake my head at that.
Raimi goes back to the well on that one a couple times. He likes that little like, we're gonna make you do the finger crack thing, because I think that shows up like 2 more times in this movie.
Yeah, but that on top of that, like this gives, again, big asterisk here, that like the setup for her being a villain in this movie, after WandaVision spent episode after episode making that a very sort of tortured, not even like quite but like more placing her in the position of an anti-hero, and then at the very last second be like, well, nope, she's still a fucking bad, terrible witch. But like it gives her so much more to do. And as we talked about when we did Spider-Man 1 and 2 last episode, the villains have so much scenery they can chew on. Like that is where, especially like the performances in a Raimi movie shine, or in the villains.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed Wanda in this, even as someone who was not
I do too.
to the divine or the monstrous feminine reading of it.
The divine feminine is another theory, baby.
I'm eating. But this was I think my favorite MCU performance by like a character that we've seen. Everyone has such a goddamn glow up in this movie. It's insane. Like I previously hated Benedict Cumberbatch. I thought he was like horribly miscast for the role of Doctor Strange. And in this, he's still, I think, the weakest of the 3 main characters. But the
actually,
gap
no,
was
America Chavez is really nothing for me.
Well, I meant
absolutely nothing.
She had like no screen time, so
she's
I
a
wasn't
plot
even,
device.
Yeah, I wasn't even gonna blame her. I'm sure that the actress that plays her is fine. I was thinking like Wong, Wanda, and Strange. Like the gap.
Well, Wong always delivers. We love
Wong,
Benedict Wong.
Yeah, it's like Wong is so far out.
He's our sweetie angel.
Is so far away out of the pack, but like the gap was smaller here, I think. Cumberbatch gave a very good performance here. I felt like, oh yeah, this guy's a wizard. Like this guy's Doctor Strange a little bit.
He got to have some fun as the like more evil Doctor Strange in that like stranded dead dimension, which was like
that was
kind of cool.
That was such a fun detour for the movie. I'm like, that was such
this movie I want this movie to do like every 10, 15 minutes you're in a new dimension. That's what I thought it was going to do.
That was the part where I think I kind of started to put my phone, like look at my phone after the, like during the, like it was like the biggest, like I'm checking my phone set pieces to me were like the entire Illuminati shit. I'm like, I don't care. This is stupid gay ass backstory that's setting up future movies. I don't care. And then like Wanda shows up and it's great. They're chasing her through a tunnel. Like they're doing like the, ooh, is she going to come through the door? I was like, yeah, ooh. And then the rest I was like, oh, shoot, me, I don't care. And then they go to that fucked up failed dimension where he lost. And I'm like, and and I'm gonna defend MCU CGI. I loved how this thing looked. Like everything was just kind of bleeding off.
I did
into
not
nothing.
like the green screen.
The art direction.
The dissolve rocked.
The
I really like the
no, I mean the aesthetic. I mean like this is the
art. The art direction is generally a lot better in this movie, and you have these like occasional really striking images, but it's let down by that glossy sheen where you just like feel the green screen, the presence of
but
it.
There was moments where I was like looking at the background and being like, oh, that's kind of a cool design choice, like where they had like every single thing was like bleeding into nothing, so you'd have like buildings missing walls, and the walls are the particles are like floating upwards, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And that was I think my favorite set piece of the whole film. I called it the Fantasia fight. Because that really showcased like, oh yeah, Raimi is a Doctor Strange nerd. Like he gets exactly what this character is supposed to be. I call it the Fantasia fight because during the struggle between these two Doctor Stranges, one of which has basically gone mad through protecting this book of witchcraft that has destroyed his entire dimension, and he's just barely holding on to the fabric of reality and holding this universe together, and he snaps, and piano pages get like thrown up in the air, and he just starts reading them like as they're falling and like conjuring spells based on the piano notes, and that was a blast.
Yeah, just throwing like notes at each other,
and it becomes like different songs, so you can actually pick out the music. Like it was where the score. Actually, the score of this movie is great. There was that electric guitar moment where Wanda, that theme that they kept playing for Wanda.
It's a weak Elfman score for me.
It's
like it had more juice than like I don't even fucking remember if Doctor Strange had a theme.
I don't.
In the first, I don't fucking remember, but I can still hear.
I didn't even know it was
Danny
Elfman.
Elfman's just like recognizable.
I actually didn't know it was Elfman until you just said that. It is an incredibly weak Elfman score, but for an MCU score, it's like maybe the best ever. Like it's so.
That's again the bar is so low. These
low.
Doses of craftsmanship from guys who are kind of over the hill.
Yeah,
raise the bar.
Yeah,
I mean Elfman and Raimi had a falling out on Spider-Man 3, so he didn't do the score on that. So they patched things up somehow.
They squashed the beef.
They squashed the beef.
But yeah, this was there was a couple tracks that had that like real fuzzy electric guitar on it, and I was like, oh hey, this is something, you know. I think it plays once when Wanda shows up at Kamartaj, and then the other it plays when Doctor Strange body hops into the corpse. That was my favorite. I think that was the favorite part of the whole movie.
Which is also like conceptually
easily
a fun idea. He dream walks into his own parallel dead body.
Oh yeah, and the mods get called on him. the magic mods.
There's a lot of conceptually really strong stuff here. It's just that combination of it's just the MCU-ness is constantly dragging it down, including, in addition to like the sheen, that kind of, clean, plasticky, glossy sheen that my eyes will slide off of. The dialogue, like when it's not doing like sort of improv-y riff comedy, it is like, okay, so you ever play like a really old RPG? Like an NES era RPG?
No, never.
Where they have like no room for dialogue.
I'm thinking of like Simon's Quest. Like this is what I'm thinking.
No, literally, where it's like you go like the first Zelda or something, you go into a village and it's like there are monsters on the road, someone should kill them. There's a treasure behind the waterfall. You know, I'm Magno the bad guy. I want to destroy the universe. Like all the expository dialogue just sounds like that. It sounds like when you're doing an outline and you're writing down like what you want the dialogue to convey, and instead of writing dialogue, you just made that the dialogue.
Yeah. No, I
like when Doctor Strange meets Wanda for the first time, and then he's like, "Oh, you're evil." She's like, "Yes, I am evil. You have the evil book. Yes, you recognize the evil book, which I have. I'm going to use it to do evil." It's like just awful. Just like really fucking bad.
No, it's crazy how bad the dialogue is, especially when it's not coming out of Benedict Wong. The Benedict Wong put that whole movie. He put this whole goddamn movie on this back. And I feel like that Raimi kind of realizes that, because even though you kind of forget about him, like the movie keeps finding excuses to have him do shit and keep showing up. Like he gets captured, and then there's a really cool scene where like another one of the wizards that we've been previously introduced to in like a 5-second scene shows up, and she tries to like break Wanda's spell, and Wanda just like insta-gibs her corpse. Like it's so...
I want to say, like, if the movie's being carried, like I think Olsen is doing a lot of carrying, because the dialogue is so bad, but she is still actually really compelling.
Like there's that scene early on, like I felt like, am I in danger, where they're in the cafe and they're talking about fucking Spider-Man. America Chavez does that horrible thing, like, oh, what does he like spit web out of his ass? And I was just like, oh, fuck off.
Are you saying that there's a spider who's a man?
That just felt like she was like they made her do riffs, and she was just like, I don't know how to do riffs. I'm like literally 12. Like I'm fucking like I honestly really felt bad for that lady, where it felt like there was just nothing in the script for her.
No, she has like nothing. Like
is she in anything else?
Like they introduced that she like in a like she gets like our backstory for her that we take a brief look at is she had lesbian moms that got sucked away by her multiverse portal.
Oh yeah, a beast.
They're still out there somewhere.
Her gimmick is she can't control her power until the end of the movie, so she's just like getting sucked through dimensions whenever she gets scared. And her lesbian moms from the like trad universe, where everyone just glides through softly lit fields of wheat, were sucked away because she got stung by a bee. It's like, such a like weirdly low stakes like reason for that to happen.
That's fucked up. That is actually I don't remember if the bee sting part is in the comics, but she is actually from like she's from this universe. And I think that there's some gay ass retcon, but the original version
she's from the Seven Sisters universe
is that she's from this like gate kept off universe called the Utopia Parallel. That's basically like they fixed everything. Like it's like this gate kept off. They've gated themselves off from the rest of the multiverse, but they fixed every single problem that's ever existed. And so she's born into this perfect society by her two lesbian moms. And then I don't know why they named her America. I'm not reading a fucking America Chavez.
One of those multiverse things too, where it's like you're telling me there's a universe that's so radically different, but like they still just speak like the same Spanish that's mutually intelligible with Spanish in our universe.
I have no idea. I don't even know if that's actually her name, or it's like a name that she gets in I'm talking about the our universe. But yeah, no, I kind of dropped the ball on doing research on her character. That's my bad. But she actually, if you want to read a good America Chavez comic, she's in Denise Camp's The Ultimates. Actually, kind of like a shocking reveal character in the second issue, where after they kill the president, after Captain
so
America,
much for the shocking reveal. I guess.
After Captain America murders the president, they find out that like she's been basically like powering the United States. Like they've kept her body trapped underneath the White House in this like grotesque like abomination of machines that just keeps her in like a permanent coma. Like a half-awake coma where she's like using her powers subconsciously. And that just powers the entire like fucking like United States energy grid or whatever.
Oh, Omelas.
Yeah. She's basically like an Omelas kid. But enough about that.
So do we want to talk about the ending? Is there much left to say? Like the plot these are all the elements of the plot. It just kind of bounces around a bunch of set pieces.
Well, there's a core element that we're forgetting here.
I guess we should talk about the very boring parallel universe that most of the middle of the movie takes place in.
Well, yeah,
specifically mindset land.
Specifically, The Illuminati.
Yeah, so this is where they do a bunch of
we do need to talk about the
fan
Illuminati.
service bullshit where it's like Patrick Stewart, but he's in the wheelchair from the 90s cartoon, and they play the 90s cartoon theme in the score, which is really on the nose. And Office Jim is Reed Richards, and the bad guy from the last movie, who I also forgot about, has inherited the role of Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
And Peggy Carter is Captain Britain, I guess.
No, well, she's Captain Carter. Actually, Captain Britain's a different character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, she has a Union Jack on her shield.
I know. It's like it's weird.
That's Captain Carter.
Oh,
you would
Also, there's that universe if Steve Rogers fucking died and she had to get injected with a super soldier
There's a tuning fork guy with a tuning fork on his head.
Yeah, come on. You can't be embarrassed.
That's Black Bolt.
You don't know Black Bolt? Nicole knows Black Bolt.
this movie.
Nicole knows Black Bolt. She knows Blackagar Boltagon, King of the Inhumans, the Silent King, who lives on the blue area of the moon, the secret dome of oxygen that was created by a precursor. Jack Kirby rocks, man. I love him.
I wish I could get some secret dome.
I love Jack Kirby. Actually, fun fact, Blackagar Boltagon's costume, Black Bolt's costume, was the inspiration for the Kiss costumes.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
I don't know, he seemed like a fun character, but I was just like, I couldn't remember what he was called.
He is this is the same actor from the Inhumans TV show, the failed, I think like 10 episode ABC show.
That's interesting which guys they keep around. I guess he's really cheap.
Weird. Yeah, I guess so.
But they're like this wise council that, this was another universe where it's like Doctor Strange turned evil and then they like killed him.
Yeah.
And then lied about it. But yeah, it's just this like council of superheroes that runs the world, and they literally call themselves the Illuminati. It's not just
literally.
Which
we're not even joking there.
Is a thing from the comics, and the Illuminati was like a real like historical organization, and that's what the comics pulling from. It's
the
less
Bavarian Illuminati, which was like a short-lived 18th century German like group of like people who at the time were like relatively liberal. Like Enlightenment era intellectuals. Sorry. Anyway, the comics.
Yeah, they exist in the comics. We'll get into it when we talk about the source material. I mean, they're not great in the comics, but they are. Actually, no, I'll take that back. Actually, they're pretty good in the Jonathan Hickman Avengers run. But I will get to that later. Yeah, they're so bad. It's in the movie. It's just cameo slop. Like it's just an excuse to have Professor X show up.
Yeah.
And they even, oh my god, this was what the moment I started looking at my phone was when they play the orchestral version of the X-Men 97 theme as Professor X pulls up to the Illuminati meeting. I don't know if you guys heard that.
I literally just mentioned it.
Of course I did.
2 minutes ago.
He literally just mentioned it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You are like super ADHD this episode.
I'm so sorry. I was up till 3 a.m. last night.
Anyways, the Illuminati is just mainly an exercise in reference slop and just like creating like a really lame barrier so the plot can spin its wheels for like
it's so bad.
20 minutes in the middle of the movie.
It feels like
it also just becomes an excuse, and it's like hard for me to really get annoyed at that scene because like I knew how it was going to end.
Yeah.
Because it got spoiled for me, but I did enjoy seeing all of these, especially John Krasinski.
Oh, yeah.
Like spaghettified. That was very satisfying to see. I'm not going to turn my nose up at that.
The kills are the best part of the movie. It's like a bitter coating. It's like a bitter coating for like a nice little sugar pill that you have to take.
It's mean, and when I see mean, it's like mean for the MCU, which is probably it's not nearly as like cruel and horrible as it theoretically could be, because like Kevin Feige would not let it go that way. But it is pretty mean considering what it is.
Yeah.
I will give Raimi some credit. The way they kill Black Bolt in this movie is fucking disgusting. Oh my god, like that actually kind of, I was like, ooh, like it's bloodless. They managed to do it in a way that's very bloodless, but I love that kill where the camera's close up on Wanda, and she's like, "How can you use your scream powers if you don't have a mouth?" And then
she does the Matrix.
We zoom in on the eyes specifically and it's a very Raimi thing. And then we pull back and we see that she's like smoothed his mouth over using her magic, and then he freaks out and very involuntarily screams and uses a scream power, and then you just see the back of his head blow out. Like that was such a great shot.
There's a pretty good kind of everything strategically just off screen, chopping Captain Carter in half with her shield. Fairly well executed for having to get
my
around
poor queen.
Showing it.
Poor Queen Peggy.
Oh man,
when she works all those guys, finally, it's like one of the better parts of the movie.
Oh yeah, it is. It
feels like Baron Mordo, and is only in this movie that's the Chiwetel Ejiofor character.
Yeah, he's only in
this because they set him up.
It was like, I forgot he wasn't even in the first one.
But it's also not the same version. It's explicitly this dimension's version. Like it's a very weird anti-confrontation that kind of gets to the heart of why this multiverse shit is so stupid, where it's like, well, fuck, we have to have Baron Mordo show up because we set him up, but it's not the same Baron Mordo, presumably because this is the good universe.
And their conflict doesn't make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like
the Illuminati have this whole thing where it's like, well, our Doctor Strange went kind of power mad and evil, so every dimension's Doctor Strange is potentially really dangerous.
And it's just there's like a joke in the script where he's
not just potentially really dangerous, but just like inherently dangerous.
But there's like a joke in the script, and it ends up just being true, where it's like, where Doctor Strange is an aside says like, oh, well, on our universe we hated each other, so in this universe we have to. But that's just like explicitly the reasoning that this movie uses to have them beef again, and it makes no sense, especially because like in this universe, at least, like, they have a pretty pragmatic reason for killing this Doctor Strange. Like, it's not over some like petty beef shit. It's like he fucked up like trying to kill Thanos on his own and caused the death of a bunch of people.
Yeah, like that's if you sell it better, that's enough.
Yeah.
But that's again the problem with these movies is like things like character motivation are just, and that's I think what comes back to kind of like, well, contemporary sitcom writing, where it's like character motive and plot are just like a thing that we hand wave away and make a joke out of hand waving away to get to the laughs, like a later era Simpsons episode, right? Yeah. And that doesn't work when you're doing something that isn't a sitcom. It kind of pisses me off in sitcoms a lot of the time.
It's such a bad excuse. Like, it just. And then you get that awful shot of them seeing. It's the worst shot in the movie. You've probably seen it on social media, where they redo, like they go to there's a flashback where they're on the Moon Titan from Endgame, and it looks so bad. Like John Krasinski.
I'm so fucking sick of seeing that fucking place. It's horrible. It's ugly. I hate it so much.
The lighting makes, because they introduce one of the Illuminati is the Black Captain Marvel. It's the Black woman Captain Marvel, but specifically like her mother. So it's a different version. And the lighting is so unflattering to the point of like borderline racism. Like it isn't. She doesn't look human in that shot. Like it's so bad. You know the shot where they're carrying Doctor Strange's cloak and John Krasinski's like trying to look sad for the camera, and he clearly has no idea what's supposed to be happening.
It looks like a parody.
It looks like a parody. Bad. Yeah. Like, it looks racist what they did to that character. Also, I can't believe people wanted John Krasinski to play Mr. Fantastic. He's so horrible in
people
this,
are so fucking stupid.
Like, honestly, shout out to Raimi for being like, here, you want this? Well, it sucks. Kill yourself.
Guess what? I'm gonna fucking kill him.
He's
going the way of Mia Goth in High Life.
Yeah, like, it's... Oh, man. Because I remember seeing fan casts of him, like... shortly after I was able to come, you know, like it was a long time coming at this point.
So I do think on this note though, like this felt like it's badly done, but this felt like the first one of these in a while where I was like, could kind of see it trying to have themes other than friendship and found family. And it's because these movies are constantly under revision. Like the Raimi talked about during the production quite a bit. Like, it was chaotic. The actors had to make up their dialogue because they were the only ones who knew who their characters were, because we didn't. The script was constantly changing. It does seem like it's gesturing at an idea of like confronting like your worst self or parts of yourself, or better, like the idea that parallel versions of yourself represent like things that you could have done worse or better, or things that could have gone wrong. Because it's always like, oh, you know, at the beginning, it's like Doctor Strange, you let Thanos have the thingamajig and blip everyone for 5 years. And he's like, well, I had to do it. And then the other Doctor Stranges who did evil things and blew up the universes was like, well, I had to do it. But I feel like it never sticks the landing on like arriving at a...
No.
These are not the like character or emotional beats of your Spider-Mans. No, this is like, and that is to me all because of the script. Really, it is not a strong script.
No, well, it's terrible.
It does not. Yeah. Waldron does not which is funny because he was going off in an interview about how he deeply studied Spider-Man 1 and 2 in order to understand and really play to Sam Raimi's strengths as a director. He made some...
confused,
having read a couple of profiles on him, like, I kind of just can't stand this guy. He was just he was giving me the ick of like the, you know, just, I don't know. Like he also claimed he based his version of Doctor Strange off of Anthony Bourdain because they're both intellectuals and like travel.
The fuck?
What?
I'm confused. Wouldn't you base your character on your Doctor Strange character, maybe on the Doctor Strange character who's existed since like black people were allowed to vote? Like it's a character from like 1961. Like what the fuck, man?
That's just like I don't see that anywhere.
No,
I don't either.
No,
but
it's like what are you talking about?
I hate when...
Did he just make that up so he had something to say during it?
I think they do, but I just hate that mindset where it's like, well, we needed an outside source to base our characterization of Doctor Strange off of. And it's like,
he's a wizard. Just let him be a fucking cool-ass wizard.
He has 60 years of comic book appearances. Like, he's more fleshed out than most real people. Like, it's insane.
It's funny that, like, the best version of Doctor Strange anybody's done, like, outside comics is probably still just the parody version of him from Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
I have another, but it's going to be my watch something else. But we will get to that in a bit.
Yeah, so, but I mean, do we want to talk about the themes it's attempting? Because I think there's an idea, again, like there's a lot of ideas that don't pan out, but like that is an idea of like using parallel versions of yourself and and I mean, that's like not a new idea of how decisions you made could have played. I think that's probably what Everything Ever All at Once is doing, isn't it?
A little bit.
It's been a couple of years since I watched it. Kind of, if I remember
everything
correctly.
You can, it's like the better versions of my nature, the worst versions of my nature, the regret, how could the decisions I have made gone differently? Like there's a lot of material there to work with. That this movie kind of seems like it's going to do, and it just washes out.
Yeah, it never realizes its full potential. Never mind its full like emotional capacity. Which is again very funny because Waldron was like, I became a student of Sam Raimi from watching and taking notes on the Spider-Man movies. And it's like, no, you didn't. Stop. It's all caps. Stop lying. Like, also stop it.
Shut up. Yeah, I think Stu, I get what you mean. Where like it's really close to the themes. Where it's like it feels like it understands like the most important thing about to having a thematic through line of a movie is like repetition. Is like repetition, but you have the results be different because the characters have changed throughout the script. And that movie does have this, where it's like, they encounter the Illuminati and they kind of fuck that up. And then they encounter, you see the earlier versions of Doctor Strange where they're both sacrificing for the greater good, and those both fuck up in different ways where the blip, and then of course like the other universe's Strange biting it, and then you have like the Fantasia fight scene where you see like, okay, this is, I'm triumphant now, and it almost feels at odds with the fun parts that Raimi is having, where he really, really, really wants to break Doctor Strange. Like that is kind of comes out of nowhere in the last like third of the film, where he's like, okay, we had our fun watching Doctor Strange, reassert himself as the good guy. Let's see him break bad a little bit, because he breaks the rules of magic and is subsequently punished for it, as we see later in the film. It's just, it's weird. It's all over the place. It's scatterbrained. But I do see a version.
That's what happens when Kevin Feige is constantly sending you notes.
Exactly.
Up until the day before the movie comes out.
Oh yeah, because this movie introduces we forgot to talk about it earlier. They introduced like the incursions, which was going to be I think a bigger thing in the lead up to the Kang stuff, where and it's a holdover from so much of the MCU from the Jonathan Hickman Avengers run, where essentially like because of multiverse shenanigans, two Earths are inhabiting the same place in reality, and you basically have to blow one up. And the Jonathan Hickman one is great because you get to watch the Illuminati actually in the Avengers version do the hook from the new Kanye song.
Okay, so on that note, we talked about the movie stuff, but like, what's the deal with the Illuminati and the Captain Carter thing? You said you had
what's the deal?
Stuff to say about that.
What's the deal with Captain Carter?
What's the deal? Okay, so the Illuminati are a creation from the Brian Michael Bendis Avengers run, which has its moments. I think it's a fine Avengers comic. It's actually where a lot of the more sort of stuff that the MCU takes from. Secret Invasion was an arc in the Brian Michael Bendis Avengers comics. House of M and Wanda sort of Breaking Bad happened in that run as well. But the Illuminati was kind of the background to all of this, and it was kind of a way of introducing and playing with the fact that while a lot of the Marvel characters are heroes in their own universe, especially with the advent of the Bush years, because this was a very colored by the War on Terror series, they can be kind of bad guys. They can justify a lot of heinous shit for the greater good. And so it's doing that Battlestar Galactica kind of thing of taking your characters and just saying, well, how Hitler can I make them? And the original comics Illuminati is actually similar to the lineup that we see in this movie. It is first introduced in the sort of the middle of his run and is kind of like this like shadow organization that's been responsible for a bunch of the more tense moments in the MCU or in the Marvel Comics universe at that point. And it's Reed Richards, Iron Man, I believe Doctor Strange, Professor X, and Namor, who we haven't met yet in these movies, but is a pretty important character to Marvel Comics. And then last but not least, good old Blackagar Boltagar. I love saying that name, dude. But they initially show up in the Brian Michael Bendis run sort of towards the end, and they're like kind of the reason why a bunch of bad shit has been happening. They're the reason why the Skrulls are trying to invade Earth, is because, oops, we tried to go over there and sort their shit out and it backfired, and this is the blowback of that. So it was an interesting way of including that. And then in the Hickman Avengers run, they're balling out with the fascism. They mind wipe Captain America in the second issue because they end up blowing up an entire Earth. And Captain America was not happy about that. He was like, we just killed so many people. There's not even a number that high. And Black Panther joins the Illuminati, and he's like, dude, we could kill so many more people. I got this vibranium shit, and we could kill so many more people so many faster. So it's kind of
now, is the Illuminati in this run in a parallel universe, or is this happening?
No, these are the actual Avengers. These are like the whole thing is it's like a shadow organization within the Avengers, that and within the superhero community at large that has at least one member representing all of the major factions of the Marvel universe. So you have, Professor X as the mutant representative, Doctor Strange as the representative of the magic community.
I'm just imagining like a kind of like DEI. Like, as a representative from the mystically inclined community.
Yeah. The DEI hires like from one of the Marvel lines that flopped. It's like fucking like, oh god, I guess we gotta have Miles show up.
Divination, evocation, and incantation community.
But yeah, they kind of show up to do a lot of bad shit for the greater good, and it does end up kind of forming as a commentary for the Bush years and the War on Terror, and the way that America operates with sort of this clandestine impunity. And I kind of like them. Honestly, I like them conceptually. I like the idea of this like shadow organization within the Marvel universe. Iron Man's also another key member. And in fact, Iron Man, we should probably talk about the 2 cut or at least planned members that were dropped in various points of production. The first, if you are around on the internet, you probably know about this one. Allegedly, and we've never had like hard confirmation on this, they wanted to get Tom Cruise to play a version of Iron Man.
I've seen that in interviews. They've said that they wanted.
Okay, they have. I don't know. I couldn't remember if they've confirmed that or not. But yeah, they wanted to get.
I don't know if it ever got past the spitballing stage though. Yeah. Like the impression I got was just like an idea they tossed around the room.
That's what I understand happened as well, where it didn't even get past like talking to him about it. And then the other one, and they kind of passed it around between a couple different actors. I believe the one that they'd settled on that they really wanted for the film was Daniel Craig to play the Norse god Balder. That's Balder.
Oh, the guy with the gate.
Yeah, the guy with the gate. Exactly. Yeah, he's a squid. Spoilers for Baldur's Gate 3. But those were both cut. You can actually see concept art of Daniel Craig and the guy from Game of Thrones who plays Brian or Brion. Braun. It's been like 16 years since game. It straight up feels like another dimension when I was excited about fucking Game of Thrones shit, Like, it's like when my mom tells me I used to be really into Harry Potter. It's like, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, this is another dimension. But yeah, they both exist in various forms of Marvel continuity. Now, Captain Carter is, I believe, our first like MCU OC that we've encountered.
Yeah, she was introduced in What If, right?
She was introduced in an episode of What If. Now, because I have to mention it, she's like, it's the What If version is actually a different version of her character that's still alive because fuck you. This multiverse shit will never make sense. The one that dies is a different version because we still need to have the version that sells toys. Yeah. It is purely just an exercise in getting Haley Atwell.
Haley Williams
back in,
like Haley Williams.
It's Haley Williams. I wish, dude. But it's purely an excuse in getting Carter back.
Yeah, because I've vouched for Peggy on multiple occasions, but she is like like it or not, she was like an ensemble, like dark horse of the MCU was pretty popular.
Sure.
No, Dark Horse is a totally different line.
Sorry, not a Dark Horse.
That's Hellboy.
Not a Dark Horse, but
but no.
Okay, all right. Sorry, it's getting hot in my room.
But yeah, Captain Carter sucks. She's like purely like power scaling slop at this point. Like they just keep throwing. I'm pretty sure she has the Infinity Gauntlet, like and like fucking like has like the goddess Hell. I don't know. I'm gonna look up a picture of her character, and we'll just see.
She just seems to be like looking beautiful, weaponizing her femininity, and have a gun. She doesn't need to like have the Infinity Gauntlet. We've lost the plot there. Yeah, she's got
like Thor's hammer. And
what about pegging Carter?
Okay, actually, She's got some kind of glowing sword that I don't remember. I'm sure it's from one of these movies. She's got the Hela, like her helmet. She's got the Infinity Stones along the not the Stars and Garters, but the Union Jack there. And what also
so
looks like
late game completionist RPG protagonist where you've gotten like every legendary.
Or like, have you ever seen
universe?
Oh god, there's this really awful it's just pure power scaler slop. But like there's this one image of like, what if you put the Omnitrix on the Infinity Gauntlet that I see get passed around a lot, but that's its own thing. Captain Carter sucks. I don't want to spend any more time on her. I hate her so much. I'm sorry, Nicole. I know you like Haley Atwell, but
no, I believe you that Captain Carter sucks, but
she can go be in Tom Cruise movies. She's in Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah, no,
now.
Haley,
she's real.
I know you're not listening. I'm going to give you the same advice that I give Chris Evans whenever I see him show up on my timeline or whatever. Don't pick up the phone for Kevin Feige anymore. Don't.
Yeah. Isn't she coming back in Doomsday in the new Avengers movie?
I believe she is.
I think so.
I'm almost looking forward to that because that feels like they've gotten so desperate. They're just throwing every stupid thing at the wall. Like it could be a real train wreck.
People aren't ready for the amount of flop sweat that's going to be on that first trailer. It'll be like you know how did you see how James Gunn regraded the Superman movie because people on Twitter were mean to him?
It is funny how the Sonic movie set a precedent for that.
It's so funny. You can do anything now. You can we have so much power. This is the most power we've ever had. But last but not least, I guess we should kind of do a brief rundown of the character of Doctor Strange, just because this is the first time of having a comic segment on the show.
Oh, you weren't here when we did the last Doctor Strange, were you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no.
That was one of the last episodes I think we did as just you and me.
It has to be, yeah, because that was around 2016 when that movie came out, right? But yeah, Doctor Strange was created by Steve Ditko. And I'm gonna solo this one. I'll budge on Stan Lee being involved with Spider-Man. Had nothing to do with the creation of Doctor Strange. This is pure Ditko shit to a T. So much of his weird Randian beliefs are all over this character where he's a surgeon who loses his ability to do surgery, but because he's deep down a good person, he gets a new ability this time. The ability to do magic and heal people that way. And he was kind of a cross between the Guardian of Earth from demonic entities and a debunker, so there's a lot of early stories where he's being called upon.
Oh, he's James Randi. He's a magician who debunks.
He's being called in to be hey, we found a haunted house. And it turns out the haunted house isn't real, but there's a demon living underneath the haunted house that might have caused the ghost projection or whatever.
So it's like Scooby-Doo, but they take the monster mask off and it's a robber, and then they take the mask off the robber and it's a monster.
Yeah.
Pretending to be a robber.
It's like in the Jeepers Creepers episode where it's the bank manager.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's they take the mask off the bank manager. It's like a Moloch. It's like the fucking it's like the demon of greed. I found you. And he smites the demon. And if you've ever seen some of the Ditko Doctor Strange art, it rocks. It's so some of that classic Marvel psychedelia that is just the reason why they dominated in that period. And I love him. He's great. A lot of his, after Ditko leaves, a lot of his stuff ends up being because they had the Conan license, ends up getting heavily involved with that. There's also some issues of him that adapt some Lovecraft stories. I was actually reading one last night that rips off 70% of Innsmouth.
Oh,
it's so
I've always
fun.
kind of Doctor Strange has always been somewhere on my list of comics to actually read.
It's good. It jumps around. The Ditko stuff is great, and then it kind of flounders because they just can't find anyone else that's as good as Ditko. And then they get Steve Englehart, who, if you're a Casebook head,
yes,
yeah, you know about him, and he's wild and out, dude. Doctor Strange gets cucked by Ben Franklin.
That rocks.
So Clea, the white-haired
Kevin Feige would never let that happen.
The white-haired woman at the end of the movie.
No,
that's Doctor Strange's Charlize Theron.
Oh, you should have said Charlize Theron. Yeah, who was she?
Well, the white hair, come on. So that's Clea. That's the daughter of Dormammu. You might remember him from the first Doctor Strange movie.
No, because I don't remember anything about the first Doctor Strange movie.
Okay, Dormammu kind of rocks. He's just like a shithead from like the next dimension over, who's like kind of a shit kicker over there, but not really. Like he's just like the guy of the month in that dimension, and Doctor Strange happens to pop over and they go into a beef. But Clea's his daughter, and that's Doctor Strange's main shorty.
Okay.
And yeah, Ben Franklin steals his girl in one of the like the actual Ben Franklin. They go on like a time hopping adventure, and he gets straight up cucked by Ben Franklin. And I think they actually had to cut like part of that issue or something because there was some issue where like Marvel was like, we can't have founding father Ben Franklin like fuck Doctor Strange's girl.
He totally would though. He was a freak.
He was a freak. Yeah, that's the thing is like he shows up and like Doctor Strange is explaining all this shit and he's like, okay, whatever. Like he's like, magic's real, and he's like, okay, whatever.
He was a member of the actual historically existing Hellfire Club.
That's crazy. Maybe he was getting Dommy Mommy by Emma Frost, dude. He was like, but yeah, no, Doctor Strange rocks. He's one of those Marvel characters that because he kind of exists on the periphery, a lot of his comics end up being good because the people that get his assignment care about the character, like Daredevil, where it's like you only really get someone to write or draw Daredevil if they give a shit about the character. It's not like someone who they're just going to assign a staff writer to because it's not part of their main, oeuvre. It's not like Spider-Man where it's like, well, we can't not publish Spider-Man. It's a character where you can go a couple years without.
He'll just go dormant if nobody's got the juice.
So you end up with a lot of guys, P. Craig Russell, who was kind of one of those guys who was really inspired by heavy metal. He does a lot of the Elric comics as well.
Oh,
he did
nice.
some Doctor Strange. I'm pretty sure Elric actually, because Elric was a Marvel character for a while.
Really?
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess I can kind of see in that era if they're doing Conan and stuff.
Because they were doing Conan, and then I think they were doing like Solomon Kane, and they were like, fuck it, let's get Elric too. Like they licensed up like every pulp character they can. And yeah, Elric showed up in a Marvel comic. I like super like a year after production. Like it was like the time between the first Elric novel and him showing up in comics was like shockingly short.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, Elric is weird because he was around in short stories through the 60s before. Because a bunch of those Elric novels are fix-ups. They're just the short stories kind of that overlap kind of stuck together.
Overlap, yeah. And they end up, because it's all told like out of chronological order, right?
Well, the novels are largely in order, and then there's other stories written later that filled that like placed themselves in between. But it's like, the stories were written kind of all over the place, and then started to get stitched together into fix-ups that would put them roughly in chronological order. Gotcha.
But yeah, no, Elric showed up in Marvel Comics like really, really fucking early. I'd have to look. Let's see here. Yeah, 1972. So actually the same year as the first novel was published.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, he showed up in an issue of Conan and then a bunch of... That's part of the reason why Doctor Strange kind of struggles, I think, is because he's kind of tied up in a lot of that, where it's like a lot of his stories were playing with characters that would show up that were from Conan stuff. A lot of the like dark, gods that he was fighting were the like actual deities that these secret societies and like tribal savages were worshiping in the Conan books. And then it's just like, in the modern day, they're still around and Doctor Strange just got to kick their ass. So it's kind of almost more in like that vein. Like there's so many, early Doctor Strange comics that have Robert E. Howard listed as a credited writer on them because so much of them are pulling from his worlds and his stories. There's a bunch of Lovecraft all over it. But yeah, Doctor Strange rocks. I got to read more of him, honestly. I'm like shockingly underread. I hadn't read a single Doctor Strange comic before this year, and I binged through all the Ditko stuff and a little bit of the Englehart stuff ahead of doing this episode because I was like, fuck, I got to like be able to talk about this guy. And that'll kind of do us for the source material segment here, I think. America Chavez is like whatever. She's a character that I kind of like. The only thing of note that I feel like I should have to talk about with her is actually one in her solo comic. that was written by like a SJW blogger or whatever. They actually published a letter that was written by 4chan, and like they put a bunch of coded like 4chan references in it. I think it was like,
they did
like
that to Oprah way back in the day.
It was one of those things where they like tricked them into publishing a letter from 4chan that was written just convincingly enough to slip by. That's really I like America Chavez conceptually. She's really good in Al Ewing's Ultimates for one. But she's not like a character that I would say I have any like real passion for or like wish to understand.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like she just hasn't got that much material.
She doesn't. No, she part of it's that she's like barely 10 years old in terms of like publication history. And like the Young Avengers as a concept never really like got off the ground floor. And that was actually one of the things you can kind of see them starting to build up to it in this. And then, WandaVision had Scarlet Witch's kids who are founding members of the Young Avengers. And then the Hawkeye TV show will introduce Girl Hawkeye, played by Haley Steinfeld. Who... Yeah,
this feels like they're casting around for like, okay, these actors are getting older. We're not going to have them forever. They're costing more money. Who can we get to fill the roster 3, 5, 10 years down the line? And I feel like none of them are hitting. In part because we're not giving them good material.
They've completely scrapped like any plans that we know about for more Young Avengers stuff. They've like started like, I think the Captain America movie has like one of the like 17 characters that was cut from that movie like late into filming was one of the Young Avengers, because they just got like the word from Feige that they're like, we're not really pursuing this as much.
Yeah, like, now we're just going to bring back, we're going to spend $1 gajillion to just bring back all the actors.
And then I guess the next big thing for them after the Avengers movie that they're putting all their ducks in a row in is breaking news, everyone. We now have a confirmed director for the X-Men Marvel movies.
Wait, what?
After
what?
Yeah.
Oh, when did this happen?
The guy who, like literally this morning. I forgot to. I've actually as we were
earlier when I was just like, do we have anything we need to talk about?
I know. I literally I didn't see it. That's the thing. I checked Twitter when you were taking a piss, and I saw it, and I was like, oh fuck.
Okay. All right. So
yeah. So they announced the guy who did the Thunderbolts movie is going to be doing the X-Men movie for them post relaunch, and that'll be like a new cast. Like they're doing the Avengers movies, the duology as a send off, and then
another one.
From then there'll be another one, and I'm sure it'll definitely be real. I'm sure they'll definitely make this movie. And yeah, that'll kind of do us, I think, for Doctor Strange.
Well,
there's
the only thing is the budget.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a big elephant in the room we need to address, and that is not even counting.
I completely forgot about that.
I couldn't before we even go into this. Like this is partially to explain the budget on this, but the reshoots, because this was also not only a victim of COVID, but obviously. Scott Derrickson left for quote unquote creative differences for reasons that still have a big question mark around it. I'm gonna say Raimi. This isn't controversial to say it, whatever, but we got the better Doctor Strange movie.
You want to know something funny?
What?
According to the little we know about Derrickson's version, it was actually going to be a straight up horror film. Like he wanted to. I will say, I
thought Black Phone was pretty good. I thought Black Phone.
He wanted to do it as more of a horror film. He wanted to introduce the longtime Doctor Strange antagonist Nightmare, who's kind of like the evil version of the Sandman character.
Okay.
And apparently it was going to play more with the nature of like dreams and bad endings and stuff like that, but that's like all we can piece together by like the 6 times that he's publicly talked about even working on the movie.
Yeah, the other interesting thing on like that unmade version, that was going to be written by a woman named Jade Haley Bartlett, who went on to be the writer and director for this movie called Miller's Girl, which to my understanding is a film where Martin Freeman tries or maybe does actually fuck Jenna Ortega, and people hated it.
King. Does he do the Wakanda Forever salute when he gets in?
I hope. I hope.
I love that. I love that photo. That's like the best.
But I mean, like, Raimi literally comes in at the very last minute. It's like a matter of weeks in the handoff there. So that's obviously going to cost some money. They like sunk a bunch of investment into Derrickson by that point with like some pre-production. So that's all fucking gone. COVID happens, which was a sigh of relief for Raimi, because they were expected to like speed through pre-production in a matter of like 3 months. So they obviously pushed back filming for that. But let's get to the budget. Stu, I asked you to break this down because I am not good at the financial aspect of this. My focus is on themes and characters and lady shit.
So we get like very rough budget estimates for these movies.
Yeah, it's usually rounded
most of the
up
time
to the closest million or 10 million.
But the UK, they have these like a lot of like BC, like New Zealand, Georgia. They just have massive subsidies because they're like, Hollywood, please come here, spend money here. You know, we'll just massively subsidize these hugely profitable corporations if they'll just give us a crumb. But a part of that subsidy program, the audiovisual expenditure credit, is that you actually have to provide some kind of accounting of the money you spend in the UK. And the production budget for this was 414 million.
Yeah.
I don't know if that includes marketing, because that marketing wouldn't be money spent in the UK, really. And the movie made, where was that? Like 900 million? Where was that? 955 million worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah, now, 955. Yeah, broken down like a little over 411 million domestic US, about 544 million internationally.
Now, we've talked about this a bit before, movies don't keep all of that, right? Like the theaters get a big cut. There's distributors, like regional distributors, all the other things. So you can ballpark that the studio probably gets like 40 to 50% of that, maybe 60, a lot. Like in China, actually a lot less. Like the Chinese keep most of it. So even though this movie made like almost $1 billion, in practice, it like broke even, roughly a little more than broke even. Maybe not counting marketing. Now the Avengers, the Endgame and Infinity War were budgeted as one movie for these same purposes, and they profited $1 billion. Like profit as in deduct the money they spent, or maybe like $500,000. I think it's like they profited $1 billion after deducting half the box office and the expenses, even though they spent a ton of money on those. So like these movies there's this philosophy in Hollywood now that the more money you put into a movie, the more it'll make, right? It's like acceleration, right? The more money, to reach higher box office potential, we need to spend more money. But that's becoming really risky because like it means that you can have a movie that makes $1 billion that doesn't really turn a profit.
Yeah.
Now, my question is like, how much does that matter to them as long as these movies pay for themselves? Because they're also marketing vehicles for a brand that can then be licensed and sold as toys and other things.
It's weird though, because that shit doesn't make money either. Like famously, like
I looked at Disney's like money a little bit, and it's like media is their biggest part of their business in terms of like total like money in and out, but the most profitable is parks and cruises.
Exactly, because you can nickel and dime people, and it's I think specifically like the shit that you buy within the park, because they kind of have to keep the tickets low, at least for the parks. Not
the
for
tickets
the
are still pretty expensive,
and the tickets are still pretty expensive. But I mean, comparatively to like
it's like a
it's
bottle
like-
of water costs like, I don't know, $10-$20.
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
probably like $7. I think I remember paying. I went to Disneyland. I think last in like 2017.
I've never gotten to do that.
Oh, dude,
my
it was-
mom went to Disneyland in the 70s, but that
Going
was,
to Disneyland when you're able to come sucks. Like it's the worst feeling in the world. Because I was like, I just want to text bitches. Like I don't want to sit on the ride. You know, like I remember going to the fucking Disneyland.
the aerial performer comes up to you, just like, "Hey, baby, what's happening?"
Oh yeah, dude. I remember. I'm like, damn, I'm trying to go to the hotel.
You want to look at my blowhole?
No, literally, I remember like, and that's the like once the novelty of the constructed artificial reality wears off, which is pretty fast, and you do the like 2 rides that are actually fun there, which are just the roller coasters.
Yeah, it's just an adult playpen.
It's not even adult. I mean, it's still mostly kids, at least from what I remember there. It's like as an adult, you're like, damn, I want to go home and like get drunk. You know, I want to go home and like not have to spend $30 trillion on a meal.
Yeah,
it's not as fun. And yeah, like that's where most of the money is, because all the media, like the video games, that Spider-Man video game is like it made like $2 billion, but they spent like, I think like $1 billion or like $750 million on the game alone, or some ridiculous shit like that. And then they have to funnel that back into sequels. So it's like, it's like less profit and more just like perpetual motion, you know?
it's like
volume.
Yeah, it's like volume. It's growth. Because we've talked about this before, to quote Stephen Tobolowsky on Silicon Valley, any publicly traded company, your product is your stock price.
Exactly.
And big, huge products that get a lot of attention, that have big overall revenue numbers, look impressive to shareholders, make you look like a big company, a big deal, right? Same with like acquisitions, like buying out other companies. You could go like, we're bigger, we're even bigger, we're worth more, our stock is worth more. Everybody who owns it gets on paper richer.
And crucially, that allows you to take out more credit that you can, and then
if the stock price isn't constantly going up, then the CEO gets fired, because the CEO is appointed by the board, which is made up of shareholders, the major shareholders.
Also crucially, another part of that equation that isn't in their control as much, at least directly, but now might be a little bit more directly, just because of how corrupt everything is now, is inflation, where it's like they want inflation as low as possible.
Yeah,
one,
it
convinces people to shop more, but also like, if you're just paying the interest payments on all of the fucking lines of credit you're taking out, like that adds up, and if that doubles like as a percentage, like that goes from 2 to 4.
Oh,
like,
whoa, hold on, these are two different things. So you're talking about interest rates.
Interest. Yeah, fuck. I'm sorry. I accidentally opened my Gundam glue, and I think I'm getting a little loopy here.
You're kidding.
Central banks tend to raise interest rates in response to inflation to try and keep it down. But inflation itself is actually really good if you're in debt, because your debt stays the same. But because generally speaking, you know, inflation goes up, prices go up, incomes and wages will tend to, like, they can lag behind when you have really high inflation. It can hurt in the short to medium term for like a worker, but they will tend to eventually go up too. But the debt doesn't. Debt doesn't inflate.
Yeah.
Like actually,
you're absolutely
Weimar
right.
Germany hyperinflation was bad in a lot of ways, but it got a bunch of farmers out of debt. Because
I see.
Because what was a really high debt load a year ago became minuscule.
I see. I know, you're absolutely right. That was a goof on my part.
No, it's okay. This shit's kind of esoteric.
It is. It's hard to understand, and I see smarter people than me explain it to me, and I'm like, I'm stupid.
But inflation also means if you're holding cash, like, you know, if you even at like, so at like at 2% inflation, your $1 million is worth 2% less every year if it's just sitting in a bank account, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you don't want your money to just sit there, because sitting in a savings account is the lowest return that barely keeps up with inflation at best. You want to put it somewhere it becomes more money. That's why you buy treasury bonds. You're always weighing like, at what rate will this turn my money into more money faster than inflation? And at what is the risk? Treasury bonds, government debt, low reward, but low risk. You can park your money there. Real estate, a place to park your money. Stocks, a place to park your money where it becomes more money.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what's, all these rich guys are just like, I want to park my money somewhere it turns into more money, at least faster than inflation, if not like at like big profit levels.
And it's kind of strange to sort of like pedal back a little bit to the larger conversation of like, well, what's all this for? Like, what is the moneymaker? It's weird because it's like, yeah, like traditionally, like let's look at Batman 89, for example. That was a movie that, while a good movie, was hyper calculated to sell the Bat logo. You slap the Bat logo on anything and that's going to move. You put on shoes, t-shirts, anything.
Batman.
Oh yeah, that's been true since 89.
Batman 89 really is for a movie that's only kind of remembered now.
Watershed moment.
Was huge at the time and set a lot of trends. Like, it's kind of like Batman 89 and Terminator 2, I think, kind of do a lot to, in like, you sort of look at like Star Wars as like a really big one for like modern blockbusters, franchising, licensing toys. But Batman 89 and Terminator 2 also do a ton to establish that, like the formulas, how they approach these things being made, the 4 quadrants, and Jurassic Park.
Exactly.
Like, they're all...
I have a couple comics from like 1987, and like they'll have like full page ads for the Batman. Like, could you imagine a movie advertising 2 years in advance now? And it's not even showing.
We're just like the logo in Batman.
The logo, it's like Batman Summer '89 or whatever the fuck when it came out, and they wouldn't even. I don't even think it said Batman on it. It was just the logo Summer '89. Like, what the fuck this is. And you don't really, like, that's unfathomable to think now, especially because the margins on merchandise have gotten different. Let's say, where it's like.
To quote a friend of the show who will go unnamed, who is in the know about these things, like you can kind of like judge a lot of these things by looking at Happy Meal toys.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is like Chinese labor and like South Asian labor has gotten more expensive. They're getting a little more of their share. And so like in the 90s, you could make a fairly complicated toy for your 10 cents an hour or whatever. And now, like, Happy Meal toys are way simpler. They're just like basic molded little guys instead of having like bits that move that you can assemble or whatever. And that's because the margins are getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
That's also, you see that with all toys as well, where like, and this is, it's kind of fucked up to say, but like kids aren't the target audience for toys anymore. Especially like toys with where you need to squeeze as much money as possible out of the buyer, and it's not just like the shittiest thing imaginable that like probably has lead in it and will just kill your kid instantly. Where it's like a lot of the like action figure market or like Legos are targeted for young adults with disposable income, with the dual income, no kids.
Well, a lot of things have gone that direction because it's like it's either you make a $1 billion movie that makes $3 billion because it's everyone on Earth sees it, or quadruple A game or whatever, right? That's just kind of everything to everyone, and costs a fortune and takes 5 years to make. Or you target, or you do whales, right? Like the term whales comes from like free to play games where it's like most people will spend little or no money on this game, but we will get like 1% of our audience will be like super autistic and will have like decent paying jobs and disposable income, and they'll spend all their money on Fortnite skins or Star Citizen spaceships or whatever.
Or
and
like Lego. You look at Lego where it's like the entry level sets now are like $30. And if you look at the price per part and you compare it to, the price per part of an entry level set, 10, 15 years ago, it's like the focus is shifted where it's like now.
Yeah, because instead of selling lower margin to a lot of kids, you can make more money selling relatively fewer high margin products to a small audience of the affluent. And part of that is neoliberalism, austerity. It's wealth has transferred upwards. The kind of working middle class has been eroded. So it's like
that, which also plays into
we're making fewer kind of quality, like broad sales items and more boutique items for a smaller portion of the affluent population.
Exactly.
That we can gouge.
And because that also plays into the fact that like people are having less kids, and the people that are having kids aren't necessarily having a lot of money. Like, have you ever looked at the action figure market, or like just been in the toy channel whenever there's like an action figure release? It's
all this stuff is like $300 statues for autistic.
It's like $300 statues for our most autistic listeners who we love. But yeah, it's like if you look at like Hasbro now, like Hasbro used to be like, you know, that was the toy that you could ostensibly afford if you got a good little report card. You know, your mom, you get your Hasbro Stormtrooper, or you know, your Obi-Wan figure or some shit like that. Or one time I got like a little Iron Man, and it was really cool, and I liked it.
Well, they were
now it's like
toys. They were toys. Now, you took them out of the fucking box and played with them.
And now it's like they crowdfund action figures now. Like Hasbro, has like a crowdfunding.
Hasbro
platform.
Does like a real giant company.
It's called HasLabs, and it's ostensibly it's like hyper targeted at like the autistic consumer, where it's like, do you want a Galactus figure that's 3 feet tall? Well, you can spend $350, and if it meets the funding goal, we'll make it, and if not, we'll refund your money or whatever, and we just won't make it. And so it's a way to filter people into this whale economy, where it's like, if you're the action figure guy, you know, you can crowdfund your favorite G.I. Joe character or whatever, or your favorite Transformer, and that suddenly becomes, you know, the focus of their brand, where it's like,
selling to a comparatively small affluent audience.
Exactly. Like, you don't really see movie merch as much anymore. Like, that's honestly kind of the one thing that I think the Superman movie has been doing differently, where it's trying to do that Batman 89 thing again a little bit. And partially that's just because I think they're floundering and they don't know what the fuck to do. So they're like, let's just do this thing.
Yeah, movie like executives, business degree guys are just like formula thinkers completely.
Yeah, it's like tea leaf shit. It's fucking it's there's no correlation between anything a business major has ever said and the real world.
But we should probably, just because we're running long. I know, Nicole, you're dying of heat stroke, and you want to turn your air conditioning back on.
I don't know if I was talking to Miguel off my group before we started, but it is the hottest day of 2025 here in Boston. Ooh. I have all of my windows closed because I have my AC in, and Miguel, I'm sorry if you're hearing fan noise. I literally need to have that on. I don't want to be like a dog stuck in a hot car, please. So
that's crazy. It's crazy that we have the opposite weather. Like,
yeah, it's raining where you are. Honestly, I prefer the heat than to the cold, but that's just me. I'm a woman, so my body temperature does not retain heat very easily. Like, I can take off clothes. Like, that's just fine. It's like, I don't want to be bundled up in shit. I'm
the exact opposite, where it's like, I love the cold weather because it's easier to get a fit off in a sweater.
That's funny, because I would have thought someone from coastal California would like the hot weather, and someone from New England would like the cold.
I hate
no.
Summer,
well, I was born in July, so I'm a summer baby.
I was born in November.
My place is at the beach. I want to go to the beach this summer.
Exactly. My place is inside. I'm the agoraphobic 2025 baby. But yeah, no, it's great. It's been raining. It was a flood warning. It's wild. It's like, this is just June. What the fuck? Like, it's supposed to be hot.
Hopefully none of your shit gets too fucked up. Floods can be pretty bad. BC is
fine.
Slowly turning into California with global warming.
Yeah. No, it's wild. It's it doesn't look too bad outside. It's supposed to finish raining in about an hour.
But so should we move on to our watch something else?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we in addition to this taking place on the hottest day currently on the East Coast and the Northeast of America. We are doing this on the night of the New York Democratic primary, and I don't know if either of you have looked at your socials recently, but it looks like
wait, holy shit, Mamdani's gonna win.
Zohran's gonna win this, baby.
Wait, what the fuck?
Fucking needed some good news.
Full socialism now.
That's crazy. Wait, dude.
We desperately needed.
I'm looking at
Zohran Summer, baby.
Hold on, let me look at the most recent listings. I saw 30 minutes ago. He's got a 10% lead on Cuomo.
Ooh.
That's ridiculous.
He's going to be facing a lot of headwinds, but I will say this for anybody listening who's kind of politically engaged. It is a win. If you're listening and you're a politically engaged person, you can't just get your guy in and then fuck off. Politicians can only get shit done if they've got a base of support to drive things. They can't just say, I'm the mayor, do this. There needs to be...
Oh, dude, he's got this shit in the bag.
He's got it. No, he's got it.
85% of the vote, and he's...
Well, it's because Cuomo
he's winning by
most
15,
of his base by letting them die in nursing homes.
15% ahead of Cuomo with 85% of the vote count. There's literally no way he can win. That's insane.
That's good news. I'm just saying, if you're a New Yorker or you're interested or you have other politicians you support, you got to stay engaged. You got to sometimes even push against them or give them leverage to do things by participating in not just protests, but strikes, blockades, tenant and labor unions. There need to be things always pushing that they can leverage or use an excuse to do a thing, because just left on their own, the whole system will clamp down around.
You know what's wild is my my mutual is actually the for the campaign. It's wild.
Shout out to them. They're killing it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, these run a really good campaign.
No, take a lap. Actually, no, don't take a lap. It's very hot out.
It's very hot
drink
out.
a tall glass.
Drink a tall glass.
The actual
tall glass.
General election, but I think it's just safe to say that it's a Republican mayor in with Trump looming over them is going to have a hard time.
Well, I think Eric Adams is going to try and run as a third party.
Yeah, he's running as a third party,
which will split the Republican vote probably. More than anything. So congratulations to Zohran Mamdani. Congratulations to New York. I spent 2 days there last year, and I like to think of myself as an honorary New Yorker.
Yeah. Yeah, and Miguel, if somehow God smites us and Cuomo ends up pulling it off, just trash this whole segment. Pretend it never happened.
Producer Miguel, who is based in New York. So we are a New York podcast. No, dude, they basically have to call this shit. It is.
We are.
It is over. There's 15% of the vote left. There's no way.
Maybe next time I go to New York, they won't have, which horrified me to see, by the way. They were just full out giant billboard ads about how AI is replacing human workers.
Were the billboards?
That was horrific. I saw that on the walk to the Applejack Diner to go meet up with Esther and Hannah.
Fuck, dude. I wish I wasn't. I wish I was not on call at work, because I would like to bust out some champagne and celebrate a minor dub.
You got to take them where you can get them. Keep your spirits up. Also,
God damn, dude. Holy shit, wait. The Bushwick, the Bushwick district went 82-11 for Mamdani.
Woo! Let's go.
That is regime number. That is Assad numbers. That is the UN is sending observers to Bushwick right now to certify the results of these elections. That is you cannot be moving like this. And you know what it is? You know what I really think it was? We need mayor. The key to winning the mayorship is just to walk around. You see in the ads, he's walking around, talking to people.
Just walk around and talk to people.
That was
be present in the world.
Wasn't Ed Koch the guy who did that, or Ed Coach or whatever? The guy who kind of pioneered that?
I don't know enough New York City history.
Excuse me, his name is Ed Koch.
Was he the gay one?
With a name like Koch, honey.
Wasn't
there straight up a gay New York City mayor? I feel so bad about
Rudy Giuliani.
Well, yes, but
All right, we should wrap this up, though. It's great to end on a high note. Quick, watch something else. Thank our patrons and
watch something else.
Oh, yeah, no, and Coke was good. And Koch was good.
Oh.
Okay, my watch something else. I kind of have my official one and then like a sneak kind of deep cut. Because I talked about the monstrous feminine. And here's a movie about a horrifying mother who's using her children to do bad things at her will. That's right. It is David Cronenberg's divorce movie, The Brood. I think that got recommended on another episode.
Who cares?
But who cares? Whatever. I think it's more than appropriate now. But in terms of witchcraft, I watched a movie this past weekend. This is a Indonesian horror movie. It's called Santet, literally black magic.
Ooh.
There's a lady who just looks like Indian Elizabeth Taylor. Her husband is killed, framed for practicing black magic, and she learns what do you know? Black magic in order to get her revenge. It was really gnarly. The thing about Indonesian horror, it can get really nasty. There was some stuff with eels and leeches and worms that I had to actually turn away from and not look at. I will say it ends kind of like a Code era movie does, where it's like, we can't endorse this. So at the very last minute, it was just like, oh, come on. But if you were at all interested in expanding your horror horizons, seeing some weird, freaky shit, go check out Santet. Vinegar Syndrome put out a release of it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. Yeah, go check it out.
All right, cool.
Okay, I kind of gave it away earlier here. And I might have honestly used this in a previous Watch Something Else, but I don't care because it's perfect for this one. And that is Dr. Mordred, the Jeffrey Combs, Charles Band, Full Moon Productions, I think was the company at the time.
Yeah, Full Moon Productions.
Doctor Strange movie, where midway through making the movie, they lost the rights to making Doctor Strange, and they said, well, fuck, let's just keep making the movie. And so they filed all the serial numbers off, and you get a pretty good legally distinct Doctor Strange movie that I think manages to capture the character a little bit, even though it is suffering from some low-budget woes there. Manages to capture the vibe of the Doctor Strange comics just a little bit better than this movie does. It really captures that, like, feeling of like a wizard that just lives in New York City. Like Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum is on Bleecker Street, which is a real street in the real ass New York City. So it's this idea that you could be walking to work one day, you bump into a wizard, and that kind of through line of the film, I think, manages to shine through far better than its MCU peers. And Jeffrey Combs rocks. We love some Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, we love
the Man
Jeffrey
of a Thousand
Combs.
Faces.
Yep.
Just watching some Babylon 5 where he showed up and he played like an evil telepath. It was great.
74-minute runtime, so not a big time commitment.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
we love that.
Super short, super fun. Damn, dude, like he's actually, I'm so sorry. He's actually going to do this shit. Like, this is so cool. This is so cool, dude. Fucking Cuomo just ate shit in like on the biggest stage that he had access to. He just fucking showed.
You'd love to see it.
Oh my God, you love to see it.
All right. I watched something else. I thought, alternate versions of yourself, sort of alternate realities in a sense. Paths not taken, decisions you've made, yada, yada, yada. David Lynch's Lost Highway.
Ooh.
Oh.
Not the deepest cut, but man, that's a good movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's his
Been
Vertigo.
on my mind a lot lately. Yeah.
It's literally his Vertigo. Yeah, well, I mean, like, obviously I could go on and on about David Lynch. I truly do believe that a lot of the evil we've experienced this year is because he was just, like, physically holding it back. Except for tonight. No, we're gonna take the W here for Zohran.
Oh, dude,
but
we gotta love it, dude. I cannot wait.
We gotta love it
to see the tantrum that Cuomo's gonna throw.
Oh my God,
with his disgusting nipple rings. and his ugly face.
His marinara fucking sweat.
Oh my god, dude! Yes, dude.
I hope crashing out from all the worst people is gonna be so delicious.
I hope his shithead fucking brother cries live on CNN, dude. Suck my dick from the back, you rapist scum. Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
All the worst people you know are gonna be very mad.
I'm going to enjoy watching some very annoying
it's gonna be
people
so good.
meltdown. Would you be kind enough, speaking of not very annoying people that we love, would you be kind enough to thank our newest patrons?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to thank all of the wonderful people who have become Patreon subscribers since May 24th. So, thank you to A. Zero, Charlie Scalia Bruce, Ike Redman, Applesaurus Rex, Ryan Hinkley, Ill, Skid Marks. We love Skid Marks.
It's the monster is feminine.
Again, it's a really good one.
It's the monster is feminine. You know, it's gross.
it's not really what the monstrous feminine means, but you know what? You're learning. And thank you to Epsticus Fuscus, Blade Dimus, like Nostradamus, OP, Arlo, Samuel, Jeffrey Price, Yaz, Mark's Grindset, Graydon Q, Mario Luca Cuervo, Gob, Prismatica, JB Morris, our friend Rye, aka Spine Reader, Onion Girl. Okay, this one I like. Speaking of David Lynch and Lost Highway, thank you to Agent Dale Cooper.
That's the monster's masculine.
Thank you to, speaking of Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch, thank you to Mean Evil Witch, UNSC Trafalgar, and, alright, this one's also really good too. Thank you to, coming in at the $5 tier yesterday, June 23rd, Penile Rupture. That's it. That's
I don't have my webcam on. I made the ugliest face just imagining like a really good dick shot in a movie, like when they explode someone's dick in a movie.
Yeah, that's something that would happen in an Indonesian horror movie, actually.
Yeah.
That's something that kind of happens in Santat.
Marvelous Death in Cinema looks forward to Sharia law being established in all 5 boroughs.
Yeah.
There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. we have globalized the Intifada. The sleeper cells have been activated, and we will finally get fucking like what do you like grocery stores or some shit? I don't know. I like his reels.
Publicly owned grocery stores,
yeah.
Which I think is a great idea. Like, I mean, yeah, the margins on groceries are often not huge in the first place, although I think there's some exceptions. But like public buying power, but also just the ability to just put them in places they don't put them, and offer like good steal. Like you can subsidize, right? Like you could just buy the food, let people get it for cheaper than it costs the city, and then reap the external benefits to like health, well-being, and productivity, which will bring down costs in other areas like crime and healthcare and emergency services. But you know, we're not strictly speaking a politics podcast, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you want bonus episodes, occasional commentaries, other fun stuff, patreon.com/marvelousdeath. Thank you all and have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N. The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N. You should learn how to say it, M-A-M-D-A-N. You should learn how to say it, because we have one.
When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. Alright, yeah.
Shout out to Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Shout out to Jim.
Hi, Jim.